Good, beautiful afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're now at our 105 episode of the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa. Today is September 11, and as usual, Sunday at 3 p.m., you are watching your weekly weekend habit of learning. And for this episode, we will be discussing about understanding the total rewards framework. And our guest for today is no other than one of our mentors, Mentor Rhona Florentino. And she will be discussing the importance of total rewards and how it impacts your business. Let's start our program. The HR Cafe Trabaho Buhay Iba Pa is an online talk show program that is sponsored by the Philippines HR Group. We've launched this online program since the start of the pandemic because we believe that learning should never stop. And we are your HR Cafe servers. My name is Coach Darwin Rivers. I'm the founder and president of the Philippines HR Group. I'm a certified life coach, public speaker, and motivational speaker. I'm also an HR consultant and currently the VP of Global HR Operations in one of our BPOs here in Manila. We also have Mentor John Bernard Ordonez Kaasi, who's currently on leave right now. He is a learning and development practitioner and educator. Mentors joining me today is, of course, Mentor Rhona Florentino, who has more than 20 years of HR practitioner experience working in different local and international companies. She's the president and CEO of Uprush Social Geekers, a public speaker, HR consultant, and also one of LinkedIn's top 100 Filipino women in LinkedIn in the Philippines. Hi, Mentor Ronadale.
Hi, Coach Darwin, and good afternoon sa lahat ng ating mga tagapanood, tagapagsubaybay. Don't forget to tag your friends sa ating comment section. Share our episode for today para naman ma-share natin ang learning. Coach Dar?
Thanks, Mentor Rona. And of course, we also have our constant mentor, Tina Coang. Mentor Tina is an operations and HR leader with broad local and overseas experience. She's a general manager for a retail company, an online content creator and blogger known for her blog tinainmanila.com, and also an awardee of LinkedIn's top 100 Filipino women in LinkedIn. Hello, Mentor Tina.
Good
Happy Sunday.
afternoon. Happy Sunday to everyone. The sun is shining on where we are right now, and we're really looking forward to actually hearing my favorite payroll guru, Ms. Rhona Florentino, to share with us her knowledge regarding total rewards and compensation. Kasi a lot of us, weakness kasi natin ng math, mag-payroll, and mga computation. And actually, Rhona is the go-to person for everything that's payroll. So guys, stay tuned po sa show natin because sigurado kailangan nating mag-take down notes, manood ng replay para maintindihan natin yung tinuturo ni Ma'am Rona because she will make things very simple for all of us. Again, please leave your name, where you are from in the Philippines or elsewhere, which country you are, so that we can give you a shout out to the show.
Thank you, Mentor Tina. Let's now proceed in our program. The HR Cafe provides timely news and updates. We impart knowledge and experience that are value adding and beneficial to our audience. We discuss problems, issues, and challenges and provide answers and resolutions through our guest resource. If there are any new technologies, tools, and processes, we also discuss it here in our program so that we can share to you industry's best practice. If your company has any job openings specific for HR, we'll be happy to announce them because the HR Cafe is also a virtual job board, and we'll be happy to announce any job related vacancies in your company. Just put it at the comment section. And then at the end of the day, we bridge understanding between employers and employees. And we would like to inspire and motivate our Filipino working community. Now, we start our program with a wow quote for the week. And for this particular episode, our 105th episode, our wow quote for the week comes from Do Conant. Do Conant is a president and CEO of Campbell Soup Company. This is a famous soup company in the US, and according to him, To win in the marketplace, you must first win in the workplace. Let me repeat this. To win in the marketplace, you must first win in the workplace. For our HR leaders, for our people leaders out there, how does this particular wow quote for the week resonates to you? What is the meaning of this quote for you, and how is there any example that you can provide us on how you live this particular quote? Please share it to us. Let's start with our mentors. Mentors, Rona, being a CEO also of your company, how does this particular quote manifest or reminds you of?
Actually, ang una kong naisip nung nabasa ko 'to is, 'di ba, meron tayo pagdating sa integrity, meron tayong palaging sinasabi na, if you can't be trusted with small things, you can't be trusted with big things. And, it seems to also be that way, 'di ba? If you cannot win within your within the organization, how can you make yourself or establish yourself as an authority? Eh yun nga sa organization hindi mo maayos yung within your own organization. So for me it's similar to that. If you cannot do yung mga kailangan mong gawin within the organization, how can you be treated as someone who can be respected within, let's say, the HR community or within whatever industry you are in? At the same time, this quote for the week also reflects the 5 levels of leadership. And the last level of leadership is actually being able to move people, inspire people outside of your own organization. And you only get there after you have gone through the 4 levels. Kay John Maxwell, yun yung 5 levels of leadership. And you start with being given the title, and then they follow you because they want to. And yung pinakahuli nun is they follow you because they know who you are, they know what you've done, and they know what you can do. And you can only do that if yung pinakababa mismo, yung mga naunang steps, nagawa mo siya. Na ayos mo, napakita mo within your own organization the kind of person that you are. You don't have to be a rock star, you don't have to be super kilala, but if you are consistent, you have integrity, you're able to do things, you know what needs to be done, and you're able to get people to do that, then at some point other people will get to know that, other people will tell about you, and you will be able to gain their respect, and you will be able to win within the marketplace. Mentor Tina, ikaw, ano po masasabi mo?
Yesterday, I had a talk and I told the people who were listening that HRs are very vital in actually increasing the sales of a company. 'Di ba? Kasi a lot of people think as HR as a job, as a department, and sometimes as a vocation. But when you see it that way, you see HR as a separate part of the company. 'Di ba? But the problem is, if you look at it talaga, a very good HR manager or team or department is the one who is really assigned to be responsible in improving the culture of the company, to remind everybody of the type of values a company has, to actually make people feel that they're part of one company and they're not just working for themselves, but also working for the whole of the entire organization. When you can make people feel as part of a team, there's better employee engagement, there's more coordination with inter-departments across departments, kasi now everybody knows they're working towards one single direction. Everybody's parang moving towards the same direction, coordinating with each other. Kung may problema doon sa finance department, everybody gets involved. There are parang pag may problema naman sa sales, may magsusumbong naman pagdating sa operation, and then HR will be the one to take action. You can also get rid of people who don't fall in line, who actually believe in the company cultures, or who's not a good fit for the company, so that everybody in the company parang has the same direction, same beliefs, same values. When every part of the company works together very smoothly, walang masyadong politics, everybody is pretty much comfortable with where they are, sales will increase. Because lahat ng tao nakatutok na sa trabaho instead of sa mga petics. Because a lot of us, parang a lot of companies, they spend a lot of time fighting with each other and blaming each other for whoever's mistake. They often forget. Actually, sabi ko nga, ang pinakamalaking kaaway ng isang kumpanya, hindi yung competitor niya. Yung sa mga tao sa loob ng workplace na nag-aaway-away, nagpapalakasan, nagmamagalingan. And I'm like, dude, when you're no longer in that company, nobody cares. Right? But alternately, a company that is in sync. And very vital ang position ng HR to create that. Kasi sales will always have their motives. Finance and accounting, they just want to be in their offices. They don't want to be bothered. Management's just in their parang playing golf. So ang natitira na lang talaga yung HR department to pull everybody together and remind them like, look guys, we're part of this company. And in a way, I need you guys to parang do your jobs so and sell as much as you can. And that involves the sales, the marketing, the operations, the logistics, the finance. You can't sell a product without everybody coordinating together. So you need talaga synchronized coordination. But when that happens and everybody starts working together to increase their sales, then tumataas talaga yung sales ng company. And there's more money to go around to increase salaries of every person who is doing more than their fair share at work. So sabi ko nga, a lot of us are very passive and we think that our job is just payroll and doing admin works. But the best HRs who are parang highly paid in the organization, Cuff Coach Darwin, di ba? Are those who actually galvanize the organization to move to the same direction so that everybody you create a very happy working environment. And when that happens, even if the company is really small, even if 10 lang kayo, 50 kayo, 100 kayo, even if you're like the underdog, no company can beat you. Kasi sila, nag-aaway-away sila. Pero kayo, pag nagmamatcha kayo, pare-pareho. And that's a very powerful thing. And I hope that most HRs would get themselves reminded on how powerful their positions are and actually do that inside their company because you can't win in your industry if you don't fix your own house.
Agree, agree.
Diba? Oh, Coach Darwin, ikaw naman.
Ako, this particular quote reminds me of the the two types of leaders. The
Mm.
first leader who tells people what to do, and the other
Oh.
one is a leader who shows people how to do it. And also it also reminds me of how the first type of people, the one who tells people how to do, would normally influence people via fear, while the second
Mm.
type of leader influence people via respect. And
Ah.
between the two types of leaders, it's a second type, the person who shows people how to do it and inspires people to ang sabi nga ni Mentor Tina, to work and galvanize as a team, to work together on a common goal, is the best type of leader. And I think that eventually we need to realize that tama yung sinasabi ni Mentor Rhona and ni Mentor Tina. Sa lahat ng departments na nasa loob ng isang company, and this really shown during the pandemic, it's the HR is not only the heart. The HR is the spine, the brain of every part of the organization. Why? Because lahat ng tao na hinahire, lahat ng tao na gumagalaw para sa kumpanya, si HR lagi ang nagsiscreen, nagtitrain, at nakaalalay sa mga to ensure that they're doing the best in terms of productivity, making sure that they are in harmony with the culture, making sure that they're aligned in the vision, mission, and goals of the organization. If we do not win, if we do not have, if you are not able to get the respect
Mm.
of the people that you work with, how will you be able to get the patronization of your clients and of your customers? Kasi at the end of the day, microcosm kasi yung yung team mo eh. And it reflects who your organization is, and it attracts the type of customers and clients. So you have to win in the workplace. You have to make sure that your team is always ready to take that, that next challenge, that the team are able to work in synchronicity, or to work synchronized and be able to achieve goals. So that's my take on this. Baka may mga nag-share about our wow quote for the week.
Actually, meron lang tayo si GP Pelayo. Sabi niya, hello Sir Darwin, Miss Tina, and Miss Rona. The rest mukhang nahihiya pang ating ibang mga viewers right now. Don't forget to comment kung nasaan po kayo right now. Tag your friends. Share the video for today dahil napakaganda po na magiging discussion natin this afternoon.
Correct.
Ayan.
Correct. Next is our Asia question of the week. And this is this is a consistent question being asked at the Philippines HR group because of employees resigning immediately, alleging for mental health reasons. Sinasabi nila anxiety and depression due to work. And most of the HR asking, should they be given immediate resignation? Should they be undergoing a 30-day turnover? Ano ang man dapat gawin pag sinabi ni employee na he or she is resigning because of mental health reasons? What are your take on this?
Sino mauna?
Mentor,
Ako na.
Mentor Tina.
Na 13 na muna.
Ako na muna, tapos yung sagot, iiwan ko sa dalawa. Okay? For one, the company needs to have some policies in check or some systems in check that allows people with issues inside their work or company that they're able to escalate such concerns to HR, for example, if they're already experiencing that from the very beginning. Kasi when you already have those measures in check, the next question is, teka, ni-report mo na ba to? In-escalate mo na ba to? May sinabihan ka ba? Kasi if you're having these problems for a long time, parang I can understand. Syempre, as soon as you find out na nahihirapan pala tong taong to sa trabaho, syempre yung HR, papasok ka na and then you will talk to the line manager already, you'll take some sort of action para ma-de-escalate yung anxiety and depression ng tao sa trabaho. Or if you think na nag-aaway-away tong tao na to sa boss niya, you might want to mediate before it blows up into parang a mountain.
Mentor Tina,
Before
ito
it
yung
blows up, diba?
Ito yung may mga signals like, for example,
Correct.
excessive absenteeism, or yung productivity bumababa,
Not even,
or
'di ba? Parang
palaging
there's
tardy.
oo. There should be some measures in check na the HR will say, pag kunyari may problema kayo sa trabaho, my door's open, please feel free to come in. There's actually an email box. Meron kang, for example, mental wellness company name at gmail.com for people to parang write anonymous post for you to be aware on what's going on. First, the company needs to have that type of machinery para kung may dumating na isang tao out of the blue, ay may anxiety tsaka depression ako, you'll be like, kailan? Kasi kahapon tumatawa ka pa eh, di ba? You're so happy, you're dancing in the cafeteria, di ba? And everybody's like, you're like, and then all of a sudden, kasi you want to resign immediately, saka ka may anxiety tsaka depression. Because a seasoned HR knows usually yung mga resign immediately. Baka kasi, number one, baka may bagong job offer. Number two, nakatanggap ng visa para mag-OFW. Number three, parang parang go back to the province, etc. The resign
Family
immediately,
milestones.
family event, diba?
Mm-mm.
So sometimes these immediate resignation kasi, hindi naman siya immediate, pinagplano na yan. Pero at that time lang, gusto lang immediate kasi ayaw nilang mag-render ng 30 days, ayaw nilang ma-hold yung final pay, gusto nila makuha nila kaagad yung lahat ng pera ng natrabahuhan nila. And the only way they can do that is, nakuha nila yung sahod, resign immediately for anxiety and depression, kuha na nila lahat. Many companies don't have a payroll period, don't have a cut-off period. So if you get the money on the 15th, wala ka nang natitira except for the 13th month pay. And then later on, titirahin ka na parang, ay kasi may anxiety, depression ako, kaya yung final pay ko dapat i-release, which includes my pro rata 13th month. So you have to have that mindset na baka you need to prevent this from happening. So you have to open a mechanism that people can escalate anxiety and depressive tendencies or situations at work para you can say later on, well, why didn't you report? Diba? And then number two, you also have to tell the people and talk to them. And this is before they even do that, is that if you have anxiety and depression due to work, if that is going to be your peg, just be very careful if you want to brand yourself with that. Because if you have depressive tendencies, you have anxiety, you can't handle deadlines. Come the time you look for a new type of job, please do not tell your new employer, you know what, I'm a multitasker, I'm very resilient, I'm very hardworking, I'm a very happy person. You have to be consistent in your current company and your future company. Kasi people will background check. If you're in a very closed industry, people will talk. Machismis ang mga tao, bakit umalis yan? Eh kasi anxiety daw eh. Gusto daw magpakamatay. And it's very difficult for you to possibly find a new job later on if you want to kill yourself at any point in time. It's not to take mental issues lightly, but it's more for the employees not to also use alleged mental issues to escape from the 30-day notice period.
Correct.
If you have a problem, please escalate, talk to a person, get clinically diagnosed. And I'm sure anybody who sees the real deal will have compassion. But if you're just going to use mental issues kuno just so you can not render 30 days, it might be a double-edged sword. Nabudol mo tong company na to. Yes, hindi ka nga nag-render ng 30 days. Yes, hindi ka na kailangan mag-antay ng 30 days pa para makuha mo final pay. But future recruiters like me will always ask you, nag-render ka ba ng 30 days notice sa previous company mo? And when you tell me, no, hindi ako nag-render, my next question would be, why? You'd say something like, well, sinabi ko sa boss ko eh. And then sinabi niya sa akin, okay, I don't have to come into work anymore. Then I'll ask you again, why? Eh kasi I told him may mental issues ako. That might be the reason why you're not going to be hired in the next company. When you experience recruiters like me who will ask the question on why you resigned immediately and did not render 30 days notice. So sa mga HR recruiters, tip lang, always ask why they left the company, and two, how many days did they render in their previous companies? If they rendered less than 30 days, kunyari immediate, you have to ask why. Kung ayaw ng company patagalin siya, baka may attitude problem. Pag ayaw niyang tumagal at tapusin niya 30 days, baka may tendency siyang iiwanan ka din later on kasi gusto niyang mag-immediate resign. Right? So it's a double-edged sword. If you have a mental issue, use that. But as much as possible, 30 days lang yan. Nakapagtrabaho ka sa company for 3 years eh. Wala namang problema, di ba? Every year, every month, tuwang-tuwa ka naman makuha yung sahod. Lahat ng days of rendering mo may bayad. Di ba? If you can't properly, professionally render the 30 days notice, you might win in this company, but you lose in the next company. Because if you will find yourself having difficulties looking for a new job because of how you behaved in the last company. All right? So just a reminder ko lang doon. So to answer the question, Rona?
Okay, ang ganda nung sinabi ni Mentor Tina ha, kasi nung Monday ata, Monday or Tuesday is Are You Okay Day. It's a global event, sort of event where employers are encouraged to ask their employees if they are okay. So napakaganda nung binanggit ni Mentor Tina, please make sure that you have those mechanisms in place kasi handa ka na matutulong yan. To answer the question, no. Okay, hindi to basta-basta na dahil magki-claim kayo, I have mental issues, I have anxiety, I have depression, I'll render immediate resignation. It doesn't go that way. Okay? Number one, you need to have a medical certificate. And we have emphasized this a number of times in Philippines HR Group. You need to have a mental certificate from a qualified medical practitioner, public medical practitioner, para i-certify na you have anxiety, you have depression. You need to do that because, unfortunately, sa panahon ngayon, a lot of people are claiming that they have anxiety, they have depression, they have all of these mental health issues. Hindi dahil sa nalungkot ka, ay depressed ka. You're just sad. Depression, clinical depression is a very serious and a very
Yes.
grave situation wherein the person himself or herself does not see any other way. Okay?
Mm.
Wala siyang makitang ibang paraan kung paano siya makakaalis dun sa kanyang situation. It's not something that they do because they are sad. It's because they have certain triggers that would cause
Mm.
them to lose motivation in all aspects of their life. Kaya kailangan niya ng medical certificate. A psychologist would have to certify that indeed you are clinically depressed or you have anxiety issues. Ang anxiety issues ay hindi yung tipong pinagalitan ka ng boss mo, na stress ka, na depressed ka,
Mm.
may anxiety ka. Hindi. Anxiety is more than that. You'll have panic attacks, you'll have anxiety attacks. Ito yung may mga triggers na meron ka lang makita, mabanggit, ma-experience, total breakdown ka na. Okay? So, yun yung mga tinatawag natin na talagang meron silang anxiety and meron silang clinical depression. And if they have the certificate, the employer is encouraged na hayaan na silang mag-immediate resignation because the triggers most likely are in the workplace. Kaya sila nagre-resign. Okay? Now, if you're only feeling anxious, nalulungkot ka lang kasi nasigawan ka ng boss mo, hindi ko na ata to kaya, hindi po yan basta-basta anxiety and depression. Hindi yan enough reason para kayo ay mag-resign immediately. Render the 30 days. Kung hindi mo gusto yung boss mo, turn over mo kagad lahat, talk to your boss. Aalis ka na rin lang naman, kausapin mo na, at sabihin mo sa kanya na, look, I cannot render the 30 days because this is triggering my emotions, hindi ako nakakapag-isip objectively. Talk to your boss and then let your boss know na, if possible, can I shorten? Can you waive the 30 days? Can we have it shortened? If your boss says yes, walang problema kasi kung ikaw ay nai-stress, most likely yung boss mo rin ay nai-stress sa'yo. Okay? And we're not talking about the clinical anxiety and clinical depression. Kung nai-stress ka, nai-stress yung boss mo. Bilang boss, sinasabi ko po sa inyo, yung pag kayo ay napapagalitan namin dahil yun ay nai-stress na kami dahil hindi namin nakukuha kung anong kailangan na makuha, or we keep repeating the same instructions over and over, nai-stress din kami nun. So pag nai-stress kayo, nai-stress ang boss nyo, most likely i-waive na yan. Done this before. So mga staff ko na talaga nai-stress ako. So pag nag-resign, go. We don't have to render the 30 days. But ito yung kailangan yung tandaan, ha? Tulad ng sabi ni Mentor Tina, if let's say you don't have anxiety, you don't have depression, but you're using these reasons to do immediate resignation, kakalat at kakalat yan. Okay? It will go around. People will know about it. Hindi ganun kalaki ang Pilipinas para hindi yan malaman ng ibang mga companies because you'll have friends, you'll have acquaintances, you'll have people whom you've worked with in the past, and they'll have friends, they'll have network, and at some point, pwede niyang mabanggit, pwede niyang masabi na, ay, si ganito kaya yan nag-resign kasi ganito, ganyan. So, word will go around about you, how you are as an employee, and how you are when it comes to stressful situation, which is more important. Kasi employers will not hire people who easily give up once they are under pressure. And employers will always put you under pressure. Walang trabaho na masaya, walang pressure, sweldo ka, okay na, pasok ka ng 8 a.m., uwi ka ng 5 p.m., hindi ka stressed out, wala pong trabahong ganun. No matter how good the company is, walang ganung trabaho na walang stress. Ang uling ay nagiging diamante because of stress. Okay? There's good stress, eustress, and there is also negative stress. And oftentimes, you need both to become the best version of yourself. Okay? Coach Dar, meron ka pa po bang madadagdag?
Actually, nasagot niyo na yung ano yung question at nabigyan niyo na rin ng context ni Mentor Tina with regards to why employees are trying to circumvent the law in terms of 30-day notice period by using anxiety and depression. But what I can add is this. I think the reason why um, HR would always say that we also wear the hat of a psychiatrist, psychologist, because you have to remember people one way or another trust us. And if you know that there are people in your team that are experiencing anxiety and depression and it's not yet clinically diagnosed, I suggest
Mm.
that you have one-on-ones with them. And maybe based on your own experience, based on your own maturity, you'll be able to provide assistance and guidance to these people. Yung trust and respect na meron sila sa HR would greatly help you be able to connect with them and help them in whatever personal challenges that they are going through without them leaving the organization. And I've seen a lot of fantastic HR people na talagang hindi naman nagpakadulubahasa sa psychiatry or psychology, pero because they've lived life, they've experienced life a lot of times, and they're able to wide leader sila, nakakatulong sila sa mga employees sila on guiding the employees on what to do, what are the things that they should be doing to resolve their personal conflicts and personal issues. Again, clinical anxiety and depression is very different from your normal anxiety and depression. And sabi nga ni Mentor Rona, these types of things, anxiety and depression, is like building a muscle for you to be a better person. It's like fire that turns coal into diamonds. So without it, you won't grow. So again, it depends on how you're able to have a discussion with your team members. And a lot of leaders don't have that particular maturity or skill ha. It takes a lot of time for an HR person to really ano get that particular skill na pagharap sa kanyang employee, iiyak na kagad si employee, sasabihin ng employee yung talambuhay niya, ano talaga yung root cause ng kanyang anxiety, ng depression, about his or her family or relationship that he or she has outside the organization. And you can actually provide guidance to these people. And providing guidance to those people, a lot of employees would greatly appreciate them. And believe me, they won't leave if they feel that you give importance to their issues and problems.
True.
So that's
Coach
my
Dar,
take.
Yeah. So, ano lang,
yung mga HR, listen. Always listen. Kasi minsan tayo we listen to react. Don't do that. Sometimes the employees, they don't need answers. They just need someone to listen to them.
sa
Mentor
akin
Tina?
lang, just to add lang, sa'yo sa HR sa akin sa mga empleyado, be responsible with with your health condition. If you are experiencing it truly, please share it to a family member, to friends, your HRs, to your line manager. It's not something that anyone should be ashamed of. And
Correct.
it's not really you can actually have such mental issues and still capably be productive at work, right?
Agree.
What
Agree.
I'm warning against lang are those who are using such reasons irresponsibly. Kasi you're giving those with those na meron talagang condition a bad name,
True.
Correct.
right? And talaga, if your HRs are good, malalaman at malalaman talaga namin na nagsisinungaling kayo. And if your current company or your current HR didn't spot it, somebody else later on will spot it kasi you will use exactly the same excuse in your next few companies because it worked in the previous company, right? And if you do it as a habit, it's a double-edged sword kasi bata ka pa, magtatrabaho ka pa, hahabol yan sa'yo. Later on, people won't believe you anymore. And it's
Agree.
really hard to lie because lies are built on more lies and lies until minsan kasi yung mga kwento umaabot na yung alam mo yon may mga mag-asawa na the story becomes more and more and more ridiculous as
Correct.
you go along kasi nahuhuli na sa kasinungalingan and the other
Mhm.
person can't help but blow the story up even further and get more people involved until it's way out of control when in fact gusto lang talaga niyang mag-resign.
Agree, agree.
you
Ito yung
you
ano,
can resign, 'di ba? Oo.
ito yung sinasabi ni, ni Mentor Rhona kanina. If you cannot be trusted with little things, you cannot
Mm.
be trusted with big things or bigger
Mm.
responsibilities. Kaya do not
Mm.
lie. Just be honest
Mm.
always.
Yeah, kasi
Diba?
if you tell the truth talaga, most employers when they know you're taking a truth, grabe sobrang compassion 'yan.
Mm.
They're only not very compassionate or empathetic kasi sometimes they think that you're not really telling them the whole truth eh. Yun totoo
Mm.
lang. But if they
Correct.
really know that you're having a hard time, oh how many days do you need? You want 1 month off? You want 3 months
Mm.
off? Diba? Whatever the support. Lalong lalo na if you're outperforming at work. Na yun lang talaga natapa ka. So,
Correct.
employers are very kind. But don't lie. Kasi once you lie, tapos na yan. Everything's a no.
Agree,
Coach Dar.
agree.
True.
So let's proceed with our first part of our program with updates coming from Dole. Um, Secretary Lacuesma is asking employers to ensure to align policies with government rules with regards to COVID-19. So Labor Secretary Buenvenido Lacuesma reiterated that ang mga company policies ay kailangan yung mga prevention, control, and reporting protocols must be aligned with relevant government issuance amid the safe reopening of the economy. So based on Labor Advisory number 18, series of 2022, LaQuesma particularly reminded private sector employers to report COVID-19 cases in establishment through the employer's work accident illness report for proper monitoring. Ito po yung report na sinasabit natin sa DOLE every 30th of the month through the DOLE Establishment Report System. So kung hindi nyo po alam ito, every month po, by the end of the month, pag meron po kayong COVID na nangyari sa inyong company, kailangan po i-declare nyo po yun. So also, proper ventilation is also important as observance of minimum public health standards. The labor chief also reminded employers to ensure proper disinfection, ventilation in the workplace, as well as public transportations as spelled out in the DOLE Department Order number 224 series of 2021. Ito lang po ay nagpapaalala na ang COVID ay nariyan pa at kailangan maging alerto po tayo at maging mapagmasid at kailangan makipagtulungan po tayo sa gobyerno para ma-monitor po natin ang COVID-19. Okay? Next would be updates coming from our social security system. Mentor Rona, madapakaraming updates sa SSS ngayon. Puro good
Yes,
news.
aktibo. Yes, panay good news ito. Tatlong good news po ito. Napaka-aktibo ni SSS ngayon matapos mag-down ng kanilang system ng ilang araw na. So sa mga nagtatanong po,
At after nilang masunugan, ha? After nilang masunugan.
ng masunugan, 'di ba? Pero wag naman po tayo masyado, huwag natin masyadong sakalin si SSS ngayon. I think they're trying their very best naman to improve their system. And sabi nga natin, meron tayong tatlong good news ngayon dahil for the first time, at least sa buong buhay kong nagtatrabaho ako, for the first time, ay nag-open twice in the same year ng condonation program si SSS. So, ang pinakauna po nating condonation is under SSS Circular 2022-022 kung saan binuksan po ulit nila ang kanilang condonation or program or condonation of penalty para po doon sa mga may salary loan na naka-under SLERP or yung ating salary loan early renewal program, yung mga naka-calamity loan po, emergency loan, and restructured loan. So lahat po ng merong mga past due na short-term member loan accounts, yan po ay covered kayo ng 2022-022 na consolidation program. So pag sinabi pong past due, ibig po sabihin ni SSS dito, ay meron po kayong unpaid obligations ng 3 monthly amortizations na or ibig sabihin tatlong tatlong sunod-sunod na amortizations or tatlong amortizations ang hindi nyo pa nababayaran, or meron kayong unpaid balance after the maturity of your loan. If kasama po kayo dyan, 3 buwan lang hindi po 6. 3 monthly amortizations na hindi nabayaran, eligible po kayo, pwede po kayong mag-avail ng ating panibagong condonation program for short-term member loans. Hindi po kasama ang educational loans. May nagtanong po nito sa Philippines HR Group, hindi po siya kasama. So restructured loans, mga naka-early renewal, calamity loan, at salary loans po. Yun lang po ang kasama. Para kayo po ay makapag-avail po nito, hanapin niyo po yung copy ng 22-022. Nandiyan na po yan sa page natin. Pwede po kayong pumili between one-time payment or installment payment. Kung ang inyo pong loan na ipapakonsolidate ay aabot ng 5,000, automatic po yan na one-time payment only. Pero kung lagpas 5,000 po, down payment of at least 10% of the consolidated amount within 30 calendar days mula sa pagka-receive ng notice of approval ng inyo pong application. Ito po, meron po maximum term ito kung above 5,000 to 10,000, 6 months. More than 10,000 to 18,000, 12 months ang maximum term. Umaabot po ng hanggang 60 months po ang maximum term na ibibigay under 2022-022. So kung kayo po ay gusto niyo po ipa-consolidate, takbo na sa SSS website, o po sa opisina nila, meron pa po tayong pandemic, at pwede po kayong mag-apply po doon, pwede kayong kumuha noong application form para kayo po ay makapag-consolidate, makapag-apply for consolidation ng penalty ng inyo pong mga loan. Ayan, next please. At hindi lang po mga employees ang dapat magsaya, dahil employers, naku, for the first time in world history, hindi naman po, for the first time po after so many years, magko-consolidate na din po CSSS ng mga penalties. So contribution penalty, condonation naman po ang gagawin ni SSS para sa mga employers na merong mga na-miss na payment. So this is under 2022-021. So ito pong si CP Code, MRP, or short for Contribution Penalty Condonation Delinquency Management and Restructuring Program, ay para po sa mga employers. So lahat po ng mga employers, single proprietor, corporations, partnerships, cooperatives, associations na delinquent na po sa payment ng SSS ay po pwede pong mag-apply na ng consolidation ng kanilang mga penalty. Medyo mahaba-haba po yung mga requirements nila. Kasama po sa mga kailangan nyo isubmit is GIS, ITR, Secretary Certificate, duly notarized certification na in-issue ng mga managing partners or ng general manager para i-name kung sino man yung authorized partner for the program. Ilan lang po yan sa mga documents na kailangan nyo pong isubmit. Kailangan din po na mag-down payment kayo ng not less than 5% of the total amount of delinquency kung gusto nyo pong mag-avail ng installment payment, under installment payment po. So yan po ay subject for approval pag ang inyo pong total amount of delinquency is up to 100,000 pesos. 12 months po ang monthly terms na ibibigay sa inyo. Pag kayo naman po ay lumagpas ng 100,000 up to 500,000 po, 18 months nyo po bubunuin or babayaran lahat po ng delinquency ninyo. Ang ino-offer po nila ay hanggang 48 months para sa mga companies na naging delinquent sa kanila pong pagbabayad. Okay. Next po. At hindi lang po mga employers, pati mga housekeeper, pati po yung mga may mga kasambahay, household employers, covered na din po kayo. May condonation program din po para sa inyo. So yung mga household employers po natin na may mga kasambahay na delinquent po kayo sa pagbabayad ng contributions sa inyong mga kasambahay, pwede po kayong mag-avail noong CPCR-P or Contribution Penalty Condonation and Restructuring Program para po sa mga household employers. Kailangan nyo lang po mag-submit noong application form together with documentary requirements na nakalagay po doon sa 2022-021. So kasama po dito yung official receipt ng 5% of the total amount of delinquency, official receipt ng full payment ng employees' compensation, and then yun pong installment proposal or and promissory note for installment ng inyo pong delinquent account. So up to 50,000 po, 12 months po ang terms. Pag lagpas na po ng 50,000 up to 250,000, 16 months po ang terms. Aabot po ng hanggang 36 months pag kayo po ay lagpas 1,000,000 na po yung hindi nyo nababayaran or delinquent na amount para po sa inyong mga kasambahay. Ayan, so magsaya po tayo, matuwa po tayo dahil tatlo po ito, twice in the same year po para sa mga employees. Avail nyo na po agad ito bago pa po mahuli ang lahat. Yung mga nahihirapan dyan doon sa kanilang mga loans, linisin na po natin yan para pagdating ng 2023, masaya naman po ang ating buhay. Coach Dar?
Mentor Rhona, hanggang kailan ang condonation program ng SSS? Itong pinakabagong nilabas nila.
Okay, eto po ay wala po akong nakitang nabanggit ng kung hanggang kailan ito. Alam ko po ay magi-start siya ng September 30 if I'm not mistaken. Wala po silang nabanggit, wala akong nakita. Ang sabi lang po ay within
September 30 start.
Ayun, September 30 ang start pero wala pa pong nabanggit kung hanggang kailan. Unless may na-miss po ako. Pero alam ko wala
Pero
siyang
just
nabanggit.
want to add lang, may nakasulat sa circular on the condonation kasi that if you do not fix this during this opportunity, SSS can deduct or no, will deduct the loans, the outstanding loans from your benefits, which will include your sickness, maternity, death, etc. Is that correct, Rona? And obviously, syempre, pension. So, a lot of people kasi they think na pag mangungutang sila, pwede nang takbuhan. Pero on the
Yes.
circular kasi, nakasulat talaga na if you don't pay for your utang, lolobo at lolobo siya, and the SSS can and will deduct it from your future benefits. So, parang in a way, hulog ka ng hulog ng contribution. Pero pambayad din talaga yon ng loan mo na lumolobo at around 2% per month. So for,
Yes.
diba? Oo.
Actually,
Tama no,
Mentor
Rona?
Yes, Mentor Tina, tama ka dyan. Yun ang hindi po alam ng ating mga members na pag kayo po ay umutang kay SSS, yaan po ay maaaring ibawas dun sa inyo pong benefit. Although hindi yan kagad-kagad binabawas. So baka mataranta yung mga members natin na tipong, meron akong maternity benefit, ibabawas na po ba doon? Hindi. Pero, pag kayo po file ng final benefit, which includes yung ating total permanent disability, yung death benefit, at yung retirement, idididak po yan doon. Kung ikaw ay, sabihin na natin, 5 years ka palang nagtatrabaho, di ba? So, medyo matagal pa. Yung bawat taon, bawat buwan na lumilipas, may penalty yun. Lumolobo siya. By the time na mag-retire ka ngayon, imbis na ma-enjoy mo, let's say, makaka-enjoy ka ng 15,000 to 20,000 kasi taas pa si SSS 15,000 to 20,000 per month na pension. I-deduct ngayon doon yung utang mo. So malaki ang tsansa na maliit na lang ngayon ang ma-enjoy mo na retirement benefit. So yan. So huwag niyo pong patagalin. Yung mga condonation programs na yan, avail niyo kagad dyan. Hindi yan, sabi ko nga kanina, di ba? Very rare na twice in the same year nag-open ng condonation program. Rare din po na mag-open ng condonation si SSS. Hindi po yan yearly ino-open. At dahil twice na sila nag-open this year, hindi tayo sure kung next year mag-open sila. So take advantage po kayo dyan. Kasi sayang pagkakataon.
At sabi nga ni Mentor Tina, ang utang ay hindi po ang utang ay hindi po pwedeng hindi bayaran kasi po may paghuhugutan ng SSS para mabayaran nyo ang utang ninyo sa kanila. Okay. Next would be
Yes. At para naman sa ating so ating mga pensioners, kung kayo po ay gusto naman yung umutang, meron pong online pension loan available po para sa mga pensioners. Although ako talaga, ang recommendation ko sa mga pensioners natin, huwag nang umutang. Kasi sayang, dahil ilang pension nyo din yan i-deduct sa inyo. So, unless meron kayong matinding paggagamitan at wala na kayo ibang option, tsaka lang kayo umutang. Kung maiiwasan, kasi pension nyo na po ito na babawasan, doon nila i-charge yung kung magkano yung magiging payment po doon sa inyong pension loan na yan. So, yan po, para po lang yan sa ating mga pensioners, para po dun sa mga hindi pa po nakakatanggap ng pension, ang inyo pong loans ay papasok po doon sa salary loan.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Mentors Rona. Mentors Tina, updates for HTMF.
Very good news daw. Kasi Pag-ibig Fund has reported that they have the highest resolution rate amongst government corporation. And they were ranked first daw sa mga government-owned and controlled corporation, placing second overall amongst all government agencies. Ibig sabihin pala, pag marami kayong problema, nare-resolve nila kaagad. According to the CSC Contact Center ng Bayan Report, Pag-ibig Fund garnered a resolution rate of 92.86%, the highest amongst all GOCCs in the country and second only to the Department of Social Welfare and Development in the entire government sector. Personally, I've never really had any problems with Pag-ibig. Minsan pipila ka lang talaga, pero yung pagkuha mo ng Pag-ibig loyalty card, karamihan is just on the same day, on the spot. Hindi katulad ng mga
True. True, true,
SSS.
true.
Kailan
Mm-mm.
makukuha yung SSS card? Pero sa Pag-ibig, medyo mabilis talaga and the people in the branch are so helpful. Especially for those
True.
who want to open their Pag-ibig MP2 savings account. All you have to do is bring the money, bring the check, and they'll process it immediately, same day. Hindi mo na kailangan pabalik-balik at mag-follow up. And hindi nawawalang documents mo pag nag-Dropbox ka. Nahugot,
True.
diba?
Ang daling kausap ng Pag-ibig. Sobra.
Yeah.
Sobra.
So
Even yung
well
ano
deserved
hindi lang yung
talaga.
ano nila, hindi lang yung face-to-face na ano nila, mga offices nila, pati sa email, very responsive din
Mm.
sila. Kasi minsan ako nagtatransact ako via email, ang bilis nilang sumagot.
Okay. And speaking about that, Pag-ibig launches their official mobile app, and we really hope that this mobile app is as fast as their face-to-face. Pag-ibig members can now view their Pag-ibig savings and annual dividends, payments, history, and loan balances and juice using their mobile phones with the launch of the official app of Pag-ibig, which is Virtual Pag-ibig mobile app beta version. The mobile app allows members to view their savings and amount dividends. So for me lang ha, a lot of people don't know it. Di ba tinatanong nila, ma'am, saan ako pwede maglagay ng pera para lumaki po siya? Sa insurance ba? Ako naman, hindi, sa Pag-ibig. Kasi diba, I'm sorry. People
It's
kasi they often think that
non-taxable.
a lot of people think that parang if I have excess money, I'm gonna put it in insurance. But what you don't know kasi is when you put it in insurance, sometimes you have to top up kasi there is an insurance cost inside the statement of account. Marami siyang mga fine print eh. Tsaka if you're doing
Mm-mm.
an equity-linked insurance, may charge pa sila ng management fee oftentimes. 'Di ba? But with Pag-ibig kasi, what you put in is what you really get. You can do it either as a Pag-ibig savings account or a Pag-ibig MP2 account, which is traditionally higher than a time deposit account. A lot of people are saying, eh di ba last year 6% lang, eh ngayon magkano na, di ba yung inflation? And I'm like, you have to understand, Pag-ibig is always higher than inflation. It's always higher than time deposit. It's just that parang 20 yung amount nila before for 2021 is 6%. Kasi at that time, yung time deposit was only at 2%. So, ang laki talaga ng difference. So, I'm expecting for 2022, yung dividends nila is higher than 6.
Let's pray
Like,
for that.
may recording to, may replay to. Should be higher than 6% kasi nga, time deposit right now is already at 2 to 3%. Bonds are already at 4 plus percent. So I'm expecting that Pag-ibig will even offer a higher percentage than 6%. Baka bumalik siya to 8. Oo, di ba?
Agree.
Sana magkatotoo. So anyone with excess funds, please strongly suggest put it in Pag-ibig MP2 savings because it will give you higher than inflation, higher than time deposit, and yes, higher than many different bonds. And it's way safer because it's government backed. Okay? So instead
Again,
of
it's
educational
non-taxable.
non-taxable. Instead of maglagay kayo in educational fund, just put it in the Pag-ibig MP2 fund and then withdraw pagkatapos ng every 5 years kasi yun eh. So withdraw from pasok ka ng grade 1. Pag grade 6, kung kailangan mo na pang high school, doon mo i-withdraw. Kung hindi mo pa kailangan, i-roll over mo. Tapos after pag-graduate ng high school, dun mo i-withdraw. Every 5 years, di ba? So instead of having an educational fund where you pay many hidden fees, just put it in the Pag-ibig MP2 fund and don't touch it. And it's pretty safe. And you just withdraw after when you need it at the end of 5 years. So, di ba? Next.
Agree.
Pag-ibig, we were talking about pag-ibig. Kung wala pa kayong loyalty card, feel free po magpila kayo sa pag-ibig to get it kasi ang dami niyang discount. George Optical offers up to 20% discount. Bose Coffee up to 20% discount. Home Depot up to 5% discount. McDonald's up to 5% discount. And many, many more. It's one of the best discount cards in the country. I'm not kidding this. It's one of the better discount cards and it's not expensive. I think it's less than 200 pesos and you can get it the same day. You can also use it to open a bank account as a secondary ID. Oh, diba? So please get your Pag-ibig card because it's the fastest card to get, even faster than SSS card, faster than postal cards kasi that's 30 days eh, or the
Mm.
national card which takes over a year. Sana nakuha na ninyo yung sa inyo kasi ang dami kong makakilala wala pa. Mahigit na isang taon na. Okay, next.
Agree.
And for that, PhilHealth coverage for COVID-19 testing of returning OFWs. So they understand that the OFWs are very important. So they have approved the continuing coverage of COVID-19 testing for returning OFWs only, not tourists ha. In accordance to IATF Resolution number 168, series of 2022, this is a way for us this is a way for us to protect the gastos of our OFWs. Okay, next. Let us also remind, next slide. There's also two ways to know your PhilHealth benefits anytime, anywhere. They have launched their online app. And if you have any questions with regard to PhilHealth, you can contact them on their channels. Let us hope that they are as fast as Pag-ibig. Next po. Yeah, and then please do not provide any other details, personal details to other people kasi they can really use that to get discounts under your name, but it's really not true. Okay? There you go. Next.
So, just a few reminders from our sponsors, El Puerto Marina Beach Resort and Vacation Club, as a ongoing partnership with the Philippines HR Group and the HR Cafe. If your company, your family, or your friends are looking for a place to stay, they have resorts and hotels in Pangasinan, in Palawan, and also in Boracay. Just reach out to El Puerto Marina Beach Resort and Vacation Club through their FB page and inform them that you're a member of the Philippines HR Group and you are entitled to discounts and exclusive privileges. Also, eShield has partnerships with the Philippines HR Group. They offer 15% exclusive discount when you avail of the eShield for your company. You just have to register the Shield at the Shield website at www.shield.me/ph-hr. eShield is a partner of the Philippines HR Group and HR Cafe to promote a healthy lifestyle to your company's employees. And if you have any questions or if you would like to sponsor activities of the Philippines HR Group or the HR Cafe, please reach out to darwinrivers@yahoo.com or any of our mentors, Mentors Rhona, Mentors Tina, Mentors Burns, or yours truly. So we are excited to go to the second half of our program. And as mentioned, our second half will be a discussion about understanding the total rewards framework. And this will be discussed by no other than our very own Mentors Rhona Florentino. Let me just give you a brief background of Mentors Rhona. Mentors Rhona has been an HR practitioner for more than 2 decades now. She is currently the president and CEO of Uprush Social Geekers, an HR solutions and service provider located in the heart of Makati. She has held positions as associate director for CSS Corp ICT Services and HR and admin director for Game Law Philippines, where she has spearheaded programs as gamification framework in an effort to increase mindfulness about one's career path and development, and also Digital 201. As a learning and development practitioner, her first foray in the world of training was during her stint as an HR assistant in Hyundai Makati, where she developed and facilitated the sales trainee program for new hires. The aim of the program was to develop the selling skills of newly hired sales agents. Mentor Rhona is a graduate of BS Psychology from the Pamantasan ng Luzon ng Maynila, and she's been quite active in improving the standards of HR in the country through programs such as Approach HR Bootcamp. The said program provides necessary competencies for up and coming HR practitioners who would like to become professionals, HR professionals someday. She has also spearheaded the creation and launched several other trainings as part of Approach public training offerings such as Mastery of Philippine Compensation and Benefits, Basic Payroll Processing, Understanding Mandatory Benefits in the Philippines, Labor Relations and Labor Cases, HR Auditing, Adhering to General Labor Standards, Basic and Advanced MS Excel. Mentor Sean has been recently named as one of the top 100 Filipinos to follow for inspiration and learning for 2021 and 2020. And she was also one of the 101 most fabulous global HR tech leaders by the World HR Congress awarded last 2020. She is also one of the top 100 most influential Filipinos in LinkedIn for 2021 and 2022. She is currently working to become a full-time stock web developer. Ladies and gentlemen, our very own mentors, Rhona Florentino, to discuss about understanding the total rewards framework.
Ayan,
Hi,
sorry,
Mentors Rhona.
nagtatawanan sa background.
Kaya nga eh. Sabi ko kulang na lang ng award ni Miss Rona yung Miss Universe eh.
Hintay ko yun. Darating tayo dyan.
Man! Oo,
Actually, ang
sobrang
kulang,
achiever talaga. Oo.
ang kulang ni Rhona, wedding ring.
Ay! Ayun na naman tayo! Hello!
Kulit.
Ayun na naman tayo.
Okay, okay.
Darating din tayo.
Doon muna kami sa background ha kasi
Okay.
sobrang meaty talaga neto.
Sige po. Okay. So, ayan. So, good afternoon, everyone. Siyempre, ako na naman ang nakaharap sa inyo. At kung na-enjoy nyo yung previous episodes natin na nag-discuss about basics of payroll processing, today we're going to discuss about total rewards. So for those who are within the group right now, who's watching right now from HR Cafe and from the different pages and different groups, I'd like to know ano ba yung inyong definition ng total rewards. I am posing this question simply because a lot of people think na when you say total rewards, ang kailangan nating pag-usapan is compensation. Now, there are different points of views that we have to consider here. Now, I would just like to mention na whenever we have the webinar on basics of payroll or understanding the total mandatory benefits, ayan, madami palagi dyan uma-attend, nanonood, etc. Pero pag topics about total rewards or strategic HR, isa sa mga napapansin ko is very few yun talagang who take the time to view the episode from the start to the end. And I would like to encourage everyone, regardless if you are new to HR, tenured HR, an HR director, an HR manager, regardless kung nasa ang point kayo ng career ninyo, you need to understand this stuff. Okay, yung total rewards, yung mga strategic HR, yung mga discussions on attracting talents, on succession planning, on team management. You have to understand all of this. Taking off from what Mentor Tina mentioned earlier, hindi po pwede na ang mindset natin is HR ako, ito lang ang gagawin ko. We are a very powerful yung position natin is a very powerful position within the organization. We may not know it, we may not realize it, we may not see it, but HR is a very powerful position. Okay? Kaya nga 'di ba pag nagagalit sa atin mga employees, anong tawag sa atin? Feeling mo Diyos. Okay? Feeling yung HR namin siya ang Diyos. Feeling ng HR namin child of the owner. 'Di ba? Ganun palaging tingin sa atin. in reality, we really have a very powerful position because we can influence the management team, the managers, and even the employees themselves. Okay? So, etong total rewards, this is a concept, okay, within HR that's considered to be one of the most important things that we need to be familiar with. Now, somebody in the comment section, si Miss Maria Gracia Fremista, sabi niya, it's about the compensation and benefits of employees, which is true. Total rewards is compensation and benefits, but part lang siya ng total rewards. That's not the whole um, concept of the total rewards framework. Ano ba talaga si total rewards? So let's start with providing a very simple definition of total rewards. Total rewards, as I've mentioned, is a concept. It describes all tools, lahat ng tools na available to an employer para magamit niya or na po pwede niyang gamitin to attract, motivate, and retain employees. Let me repeat the last part. Attract, motivate, and retain employees. Now, if you're going to attract, motivate, and retain employees, you need to be familiar with the employee journey. Very few HR really take the time to look into the employee journey. Okay, ano ba yung employee journey na yan? May pinagsasabi mong employee journey na yan. May kinalaman ba yan kay SSS? May kinalaman ba yan kay payroll? May kinalaman ba yan sa disciplinary action? Yes. Okay? Each step of the way from the time the employee was, you were able to attract the employee up to the time that the employee resigns or leaves the company or gets separated from the company. That's the employee life cycle. Okay? The employee journey. Okay? Parang buhay din yan. You start with infancy, yung mga psychology graduates yan, you have infancy, you have toddler, you have the early childhood, you have the middle childhood, hindi ko na maalala tong mga to, middle adulthood, etc., etc. You have all of those stages. Ganun din yung mga empleyado nyo. You attract them, and once they are within your company, you motivate them so that they perform, you retain them, but at some point in time, aalis at aalis yan, hindi yan ang may-ari, so you have to be ready for when that person leaves. Yung buong journey na yon, it has to be a positive one. Okay, and when we say positive, hindi sabihin ito na lahat dapat hindi siya napapagalitan. Hindi. When we say positive, the employee is able to process it so that he or she understands what needs to be learned during that particular phase. Now, total rewards allows you to make that journey. Remember, it's a tool that allows you to make that journey something that is memorable, something that changes the employee to a better version of himself or herself. Now, why do we need to have total rewards? Okay? At hindi basta lang compensation and benefits. Compensation and benefits, madali lang siya. You have tangible, intangible rewards, you have cash, non-cash incentive, and you have all of that. But that's just part of the picture. Mas malaki yung buong total rewards na framework. We do total rewards in order to, one, sabi nga natin kanina, di ba? Attract top talents. One common mistake that most HR make is that they attract applicants. Hindi ka dapat nag-a-attract lang ng applicants. You attract top talents. You attract the right people for the right position at the right time. You use total rewards in order to sustain satisfaction and engagement. Satisfaction and engagement are two different concepts. Satisfaction is the feeling of being content. Engagement is the feeling of being actively involved. An employee may be satisfied, but they may not be actively involved. They may be fence sitters. Ayoko masyadong mag-join sa mga ganyan. Ano namang mangyayari dyan eh. Okay? Okay na ako dito. Basta sumusweldo, okay na ako. Those are satisfied employees. We don't need those types of employees. We need employees who are, I am okay with the company and I am willing to give more. Total rewards helps you with that. Total rewards is also important in retaining employees. Okay? Now, we can retain employees a number of different ways. Hindi lang compensation, hindi lang benefits. 'Di ba? Ang daming umaalis, yung we actually have one client na ang ganda naman ng kanilang pasweldo, ang ganda ng kanilang benefits, but they still have a very significant number. Taas ng number nila pagdating sa attrition. Why? Kasi hindi lang ito about sweldo, hindi lang ito about benefits. Meron bang career growth? Meron, ano bang uri ng culture meron ka? Anong uri ng management meron? So all of these are important. Okay? Total rewards also helps in making sure that your company stays competitive. Ano yung sabi ni Mentor Tina kanina? Hindi dahil HR ka, yun lang ang problema mo. Yung HR can have an impact on sales, can have an impact on marketing, can even have an impact on how you position your products and your brand within the market. So dapat you have a framework that allows the employees to be better than what they are right now so that they become productive and your company becomes competitive. Okay? Which leads to improved business performance. At the end of the day, our aim is to ensure improved business performance because the total rewards framework, okay, is there in order to achieve results. Okay? So it's very easy na usually sabihin ng iba, ay, gawan mo kami ng total rewards framework. Tapos okay na. Hindi po ganun yun. Before you can create your own total rewards framework, you actually have to keep in mind a number of things. For one, the total rewards framework needs to be based on a business strategy. Unfortunately, some HR, hindi naman lahat, some HR, ang tendency nila, okay, is to just wait for instructions from top management. HR people, we have emphasized this a number of times in the past. Our position is a very powerful one because we have the power to influence. We have the power to guide those whose positions are higher than us, those who are part of the leadership team, management team. We have the power to influence them. But for us to influence them, we need to understand what the business strategy is all about. Okay? So, ito madalas namin nakikita to sa Philippines HR group. Palaging, anong gagawin namin sa ganito? Paano pag ganito? Ano ba yung business strategy nyo? Ano ang end goal ng company? Anong gustong ma-achieve ni company for this particular year? That's the business strategy. And business strategies change over the years. Okay? Hindi dahil ang business strategy nyo last year ganito, this year, same pa rin siya. No. Magdedepende yan sa historical data, the challenges ng market, if you are launching a new service, a new product, all of those things are taken into consideration when you create your business strategy. From the business strategy, which is typically formed by the whole management team, yan ngayon ang mag-guide dun sa magiging people strategy nyo. How you would handle the people, how you're going to attract them, how you're going to retain them will all depend on the business strategy. HR people, ito sasabihin ko lalo na sa mga fresh grads, and I hope you don't take this negatively. If you're going into the HR industry because you want to help people get jobs, you want them to have jobs, okay? You might not be ready for an HR position. The HR is not there to give jobs arbitrarily. Ang end goal natin, and when we create people strategy, these are also the things that we have to keep in mind. Ang end goal natin palagi is to make sure, okay, na yung business, masusustain natin siya. How do we do that? We create the right people strategy for that. Okay? Which is based on the business strategy. So if as HR, wala tayong pakialam sa business strategy, hindi natin alam kung anong business strategy, all your projects, all your programs, most likely will either fail or will get disapproved. It has to match the business strategy. Okay? Now, once you have your people strategy, this will now drive your total rewards strategy. Okay? Yung total rewards strategy nyo can come in many forms. Now, one form here that we have in our yung naka-display right now has to do with compensation and benefits. Of course, these are not just the things that you can provide your employees. One part here is intangible reward, which is not always about compensation and benefits. Okay? Now, you would also see na from yung ating total reward strategy has a specific relationship or a certain relationship sa needs ng company. Si total reward strategy kasi, nagbabago yan based on the needs of the company. Okay? At the same time, okay, yung needs ng employees ay kailangan connected din dun sa inyong total reward strategy. Hindi po pwedeng needs lang ng company, hindi rin naman po pwedeng needs lang ng employees. It has to be both. Both of those will have an impact on your total reward strategy. Okay? And how you implement your total rewards framework will again depend on these two things. End goal is to have the right results, okay, based on the business strategy. Okay? So, dapat may alignment, may engagement, may return on investment, and there should be a change management before you implement the framework. Marami akong kilalang HR na when you give them a framework, you tell them this is the best way to do that, ang gagawin kagad nila is i-implement. Okay? Hindi po pwedeng, when you have a program, when you think of a project, when you have a total rewards framework in place, implement agad. No. How successful, the success of the program or how successful the program will depend on how you implement it. Kung tama ba yung pagkaka-implement. Magandang analogy dito would be pag nirereto kayo. Okay? Let's say, nireto ka ng nanay mo dun sa anak ng kanyang kapitbahay. Okay, sabi ng nanay mo, okay, yung anak ng kapitbahay natin, gwapo, sinet up ko yung date nyo, date kayo bukas, at ganitong oras, dadaanan ka niya. Okay? Ang magiging first reaction mo is, ayoko nga. Push back. Okay? But, if for example, ang ginawa ng nanay mo is, ay anak, samahan mo ko, pupunta ako sa kapitbahay. Uy anak, nakita mo ba yung anak ni Maring Emmy, for example? Uy anak, nagyayaya sila Maring Emmy na kumain tayo sa labas kasama yung anak niya. Because you're getting used to it, okay? If dumating yung time na sabihin ng nanay mo na, anak, parang gusto kang ligawan ng anak ni Maring Emmy, walang pushback. The same is true when you implement projects in HR, especially total rewards framework, because the total rewards framework will change everything. Okay? You have to make sure that you get the people used to the idea, understand what it's all about before you implement a total rewards framework. Okay? So, hindi yan basta-basta na, may framework kami, meron akong naisip na magandang project, go ko na to. Hindi. You have to get the buy-in of the employees before you actually do the implementation. Now, I keep mentioning na it's more than just compensation and benefits. Ano ba talaga ang kasama sa loob ng total rewards? Ano-ano yung mga dapat nating i-consider? So first, compensation. Okay? That's the large part of total rewards has to do with compensation. But be careful, okay? Because compensation is good at attracting candidates, but it's a short-term approach. Okay? When it comes to attraction. Remember, di ba sabi natin, attract, motivate, retain. Maganda siyang pang-attract. You might be able to motivate them, but if it's not structured properly, mahirap siyang gamitin for retention. If your competitors are paying more than what you're paying, there's a high likelihood that the employee will jump ship. Okay? So it's a short-term one. The second one is benefits. I would always say na if you have mataas na compensation, huwag masyado sa benefits. Bakit? Sustainability. Company should be able to sustain whatever it is that it is trying to implement. Hindi po pwede na pag after 3 months, 6 months, a year, bigla mo na-realize na, uy, hindi namin kaya financially. Let's take it back. Can't do that. Diminution of benefits. So we can go with good compensation, competitive compensation, hold back muna on the benefits, and then use that benefit for the retention. So you have compensation to attract and motivate, and then you have the benefits for the retention. Okay? Mas matagal. Okay? Hindi kasi pareho yan na magagawa yung tatlong yon. So the benefits takes care of the retention. Kasi si benefits pwede mong i-stretch out. Hindi ka kasi pwede sa compensation, for example, na fixed yan na every year meron kang increase. Hindi po pwede kasi kailangan may consider yung kanyang performance. But with benefits, you can actually play around with that. So for example, you can have day 1, meron ka ng HMO coverage. 70,000 nga lang. Pero pag na-regular ka, magiging 100,000. After a year, meron kang additional pang allowances. After a year, yung HMO mo mag-iiba. After a year, you have insurance. So every year, there's something that they can look forward to, which now takes care of retention. Okay? Now, not all employees look at compensation and benefits. And I have come across some applicants na when you ask them what would allow you to stay with the company or what are the things that you consider when staying with the company, they will tell you na they are looking for challenges. They don't care about the compensation. Basta competitive, okay ako dyan. Not lower than my previous benefits, wala akong problema. As long as okay siya, the company will take care of me health-wise, wala akong problema. But, okay, if the challenge is not there, the growth is not there, ayoko. Okay? Okay sa akin mababang sweldo, as long as the challenge is there, the development is there, okay ako. So you also have to take a look at that. Now, ito is also retention. It takes care of retention. So when we say professional development, it's not just about the learning. Part siya, so if you have certification programs, learnings, etc., you're good to go. But you also include application of those learnings. You also include challenges. You give them mga stretch goals. You need to be clear ano ba yung kanilang career path at ano yung mga options na available sa kanila. You also need to let them see that you are flexible as an organization. And we're not talking about the hybrid setup or work from home or anything like that because that's part of benefits. Ibig sabihin, you are flexible na it's not just you. And this is one of the things that I actually learned when we had the study tour in Mercer during the conference, the HR Tech Conference in Singapore. Employers have to let go. Okay? Pag sinabi kasi nating career path, career development, professional development, sobrang hawak natin dyan. You're HR assistant, then you become an HR officer, then you become an HR manager, etc., etc. Without looking into, guys, Miss Santos, or kung sino mang empleyado yan, Juan, Pedro, Peter, what are your preferences? How do you want to take your career forward? We need to have that kind of flexibility. And that's part of total rewards. Okay? That's part of total rewards. Paano po yun bago pa lang siya? Again, the name here is total rewards. You don't reward someone na wala pang napapakita. You reward those na meron ng napakita na performance. So when you do career development, you develop those who have been with the company for quite some time. Okay? Kung probationary pa lang nagpapakitang gilas na talaga, then no problem. Let's discuss about your career growth, how you want to take it forward. Pero pag start pa lang nakikitaan mo na parang medyo wala siyang pakialam sa kung anong mangyari sa kanya. Usap na kagad. What can we do? How do we make sure that you are productive? How can we support you? Okay? Wala pang flexibility muna. Sabi mo sa amin kung anong kailangan mo, pero kami pa rin ang magsasabi ng kung ano i-approve. But for someone who's already shown that they are able to be productive, okay, you are productive, therefore, let me know how you want to take your career forward. We will support you. Okay? And then recognition. A lot of companies or a lot of employees actually, a lot of employees, the reason why they leave companies is because hindi sila nakikita. Okay? Hindi sila napapansin. Pag kayo ay may jowa, may boyfriend, diba? Pag may boyfriend kayo, pag si boyfriend ay hindi kayo pinapansin, niinit ulo nyo. Okay? Pag matagal na kayo mag-boyfriend, for example, okay, hindi ka pinapansin, hindi ka tinitext, wala man lang good morning, good night, walang kahit na ano, mapipikon ka. Bakit ganun? Okay? Maraming mga relationship ang nasisira kasi yung isang party, pakiramdam niya ay hindi siya binibigyan ng importansya. The same is true within your workplace, within your organization. Employees need to feel that they are seen, they are heard, they are important. Few years back, I really don't understand why my boss keeps saying that the employees are our kings and queens. Okay? Parang, okay, sila lang yung dapat masaya. Paano naman kami sa HR? Okay? But if you would look at it from a different perspective, oo nga naman. Okay? We need to make them feel that they are important so that they are motivated, they are energized. Okay? To be more productive. Siguro kung may babaguhin man ako sa sinabi ng boss ko is to also include si HR din. HR is also, they are also employees, therefore they also need to be recognized. Okay? So bilang HR, tayo naman, we need to make sure that we guide the management in recognizing yung mga employees. Allowing them to feel that they are seen, they are heard, they are important. Di ba nga sabi ko kanina, HR, pinakamaganda, isa sa mga skill na kailangan natin matutunan is the listening skill, the ability to listen. And listening, active listening, ang dapat meron tayo. Hindi yung listening lang para lang makareact. Hindi. Okay? Kasi maraming mga HR, they listen, but they don't understand. Okay? They hear, but they don't understand. Which is, magiging problema yon. You need to be able to read between the lines. If someone comes up to you and tells you na, parang, I feel depressed. Okay? Hindi mo siya kukunin sa face value. You have to ask, why? What's happening? Okay? And you should be able to ask the right questions so that you understand what's happening. At hindi kayong HR lang ang gagawa noon. Hindi po tayo Messiah. Let's stop with this Messiah complex na tayo lang ang makakasolve ng lahat ng problema. No. We have to tap the line managers and get them to be a representative of HR. Okay? Dapat sila din mismo, they understand all of this. Kaya nga sabi natin kanina, the role of the HR, the position of the HR is a very powerful one because we can guide and influence this manager so that they become extensions of HR. I always hear a lot of HR say na, one-man team ako. If you're talking administratively, then may mga sagot dyan. You can automate, you can get another person, etc., etc. But when it comes to strategies at ikaw lang, okay, ang nagpo-propose at lahat, lagi mo sinasabi na, magpo-propose ako ng project, mata-turn down lang yan kasi kukontrahin ng mga managers, etc., etc. Okay. Pag ganun ang iyong mindset, then you might have a problem. Kasi that means you are unable to influence them so that they become extensions of HR. They need to be extensions of HR in order for total rewards framework to be effective. Kasi silang magi-implement nun sa kanilang mga sariling department and teams. Okay? And they should be the one to know how to recognize yung contribution ng kanilang mga team members. Okay? Now, lastly, work-life balance. Ayan. Yung work-life balance, gasgas yan, lalong-lalo na nung start ng pandemic. Actually, even before the pandemic, marami na talagang discussions about work-life balance. We actually have Jomil Fernandez in the comment section mention na total rewards is the overall welfare at isa sa mga nabanggit niya is work-life balance. I know of someone If you're familiar with Miss Daphne Grafil, she used to be a resource speaker nung face-to-face pa ang mga learning sessions sa Philippines HR Group. And she is actually a very active proponent of work-life balance. She actually mentioned that it's no longer work-life balance. It's more of a work-life blending, which is actually what the pandemic has proven to us. It's no longer about work-life balance. When we started working from home, working from anywhere, it became work-life blending. Okay? Yung work mo already seeps into your personal life mo seeps within your work. Naghahalo na sila. But work-life balance is very important because in work-life balance, this is where the mental wellness comes in. Diba? Yung question natin kanina about mental wellness. So work-life balance pumapasok yun. Okay? Now, work-life balance is very important if you want your employees to be productive. Okay? Iniisip natin na, and this is a prevailing mindset and culture within the Philippines, na pag overtime ka ng overtime, masipag ka, magaling ka. That's not true. Pag overtime ka ng overtime, that means you have improper time management. Or, yung boss niya doesn't have good delegation skills. Nagde-delegate, nag-o-offload si boss, nagbibigay ng mga tasks without taking into consideration the 8-hour timeline and all the other work that the person is doing. Okay? And itong work-life balance ang pinaka complicated sa lahat ng elements ng total rewards. Si compensation, madali lang. Meron kang salary structure, meron kang performance management system, okay ka na. Si benefits, madali lang. Ano ba yung gusto mong i-promote na behavior? Reward mo yon. Benefits, okay na yan. Professional development, madali lang. If you have the performance management, you have your career pathing, you have your job grades, madali na si professional development. You have your training programs, you do your TNA every now and then, wala tayong problema. The recognition, as long as the employers, the managers, the department heads know how to recognize, highlight the achievements of their team members, recognize yung contributions sa kanilang team members, walang problema. Pero pagdating kay work-life, yan, medyo komplikado because you have to consider the mental well-being. You have to make sure that this is individualized, and you need to make sure that the employers, the managers, the leaders understand on an individual basis kung ano ba yung mga motivators ng kanyang mga team members. Which is also why HR, again, hindi dapat messiah approach. Guide the managers so that they can do it for you. Okay? So those are the elements of total rewards. Now, you can look at these elements holistically. Okay? When you do your total rewards framework, you can look at things holistically. Meaning, you look at 3 things only. Okay? Foundational, which are your contractual obligations, development, which will include career development, and performance. Okay? 3 bagay lang. When we say foundational, yung contractual obligations, yung mga basics, your benefits, your compensation, those are foundational. Okay? You should have those in place. Development, how are you going to develop the employees so that they become better versions of themselves? What if they leave? Diba nga, meron yung ganyang nauso dati sa LinkedIn na post. Sabi ni CFO, sabi ni CEO, what if we train them and they leave? Sabi ni HR, but what if we don't train them and they don't? You'd be stuck with someone who doesn't know how to do things, na hindi na nag-improve sa kanyang skills. Okay, so you train them, you develop them. And then you look at performance. You do not create a total rewards framework without impact to the organization. Okay? Kaya nga sabi ko kanina, if your main goal for being an HR is to arbitrarily help people get jobs, then you are not yet ready for HR. Because at the end of the day, everything that we do in HR needs to have a return on investment for the organization. There should be a change in performance, there should be a change in behavior so that the organization becomes more productive and more competitive. Okay? Hindi tayo gumagawa ng bagay nang wala lang. Kaya nga palagi rin namin sinasabi sa Philippines HR Group, when you want to do something, ask the employees. Diba? Ano po bang magandang benefit? Ask your employees, ano bang gusto nila? Ano bang importante sa kanila? Because if you ask people within Philippines HR Group, yun ang gusto nila. Not necessarily reflective of what your employees really want. And if you're able to match what they want and what they need, then you can get them to move in the direction that you want them to move. So you look at these three things. The foundational, anong mga requirements ng batas, anong pwede natin ibigay sa compensation, sa benefits, we start with there. Then you look at the development. How do we improve them so that they don't get stuck na 10 years assistant lang? Okay? Assistant pa rin siya, naka 10 taon na, lahat na promote na siya na lang hindi. How do we prevent that from happening? And then how do we make sure that they perform so that we are able to maximize kung ano man yung ini-invest natin para sa total rewards na framework na to. Okay? Now, that's one approach. Another approach, and this is from AIHR, okay, is a more comprehensive approach. Okay? And this is a step-by-step approach. So the first thing that you have to do, assess what do you have in place. Anong meron kayo right now? And be honest with yourself, because I see a lot of HR, and we actually have this difficulty in uprush whenever we are talking to clients. When we ask them, for example, send us your policies and procedures in terms of comp and ben. Papadalan kami sa katutak na policies. Pero pag in-interview mo yung employees, these policies are actually drafts. Hindi pa nai-implement. Okay? So when you're looking at creating your total rewards framework, be honest with yourself. Anong meron at ano ang wala. Okay? Don't fool yourself into saying na, parang okay naman kami dito. Parang meron naman kami dito, hindi lang ganun kaganda. No, kung wala talaga, wala. Kung walang pangit ang aming leave credits, pangit ang leave credits. Okay? Assess what you already have. And then, ask the employees. Employees, this is what we have. How do you feel about these benefits? How do you feel about our compensation? How do you feel about our training programs? You should have an annual survey on how the employees feel about the HR projects and programs. Okay, hindi lang basta engagement survey. Okay, including your survey, how do you feel right now about these different policies that we have, these different programs that we have, these different benefits that we have, etc., etc. And then ask them, what do you think? Okay, what do you suggest? Okay, what's your suggestion para do sa ating mga benefits for next year? Do you think we should add something else? If you say yes, what is it that we should add? Ask them. Or if you want a more subtle approach, what are the things that are important to you right now? Okay, that will give you an idea ng kung anong benefit ba yung pwede kayong magkaroon so that you take care of what's important to your employees. Either way, the end of the day, it's all about asking your employees and getting them to join you in brainstorming how you're going to create your total rewards framework. Again, HR, don't do this all on your own. Hindi kailangan na kayo lahat ang mag-iisip. Let's say you have 100 employees within your organization, that's already about 100 different ideas. Okay? Or kung may magkaulit-ulit man, at the very least, you'll have, say, 25 to 50 unique ideas. Okay? So ask them. Because when you ask them, they would feel that, uy, ako ang nag-recommend nito. Uy, ako nag-suggest nito. Ako mismo ang magpupush nito. Okay? And I will get these employees, the employees around me, my colleagues na, hoy, ganda tong program na to, suportahan natin. Kasama ako sa nag-isip niyan. Okay? And then once you have the employee feedback, go to the leadership. Okay? Go to the managers. Minsan kasi, we ask first the managers, then from the managers, we go to the employees, o sabi ng management, eto, anong gusto nyo? Huwag ganun. Kasi yung mga employees ngayon, they will feel disempowered. Yung gusto ng management, di sige, go na lang, sige na. wala na ngayong motivation. But if you ask them first, guys, what do you think? Ito kasi mga suggestions ninyo, lalagay natin sa framework, then we will bring it to the leadership, to the management team. Ibang dating sa kanila, uy, eto na ang chance ko, baka mapa-approve. Diba? So HR now is seen as an ally instead of as a kaaway. So include, get their feedback, and then from there, go to the leadership, go to the management. Okay, this is what we have. In here, you have to be very good with presentation, with numbers, with storytelling. And when I say numbers, hindi kailangan magaling ka sa math. I am actually very bad at math. Okay? All my previous bosses know about that, how much I hate math. However, I like Excel. Okay? I like how you can manipulate Excel so that it gives you the report that you need. Be good at Excel. Use that for your presentation. Okay? Which also means always, always, always know your numbers. Know your engagement level. Know your productivity level. Kasi you can use that to defend your project. In 2022, this is our productivity level and our engagement level. Okay, in 2021, this is our productivity level, this is our engagement level. I am recommending we do this so that after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, we can increase our productivity level to this and our engagement level to this. Siyempre, meron pang konting pushback yan sa management. Magkano ang budget, etc., etc. All of those should be in your report. Pag sinabi na, hindi, wag muna ngayon magastos. Okay, sige boss. We'll trim it down, remove some of the expensive items within our recommendation, but I want you to give me 6 months. Okay? Tingnan lang natin kung ano mangyayari after 6 months, and then if it's successful, let's see how we can take it forward. Be good in communicating kung ano yung gusto mong mangyari. Okay? Which brings me to the fourth one, which is identifying your goals and priorities. Why do you want to do this? Ano ba yung goal? Ano yung gusto mong mangyari? And if you want this to happen and the management says no, ano yung pwede mong i-keep? Dapat alam mo kung anong core ng project mo. Okay? Eto na, kung ayaw mo boss itong 10 items na to, let's stick to 3. And then let's see what happens if we implement the 3. Okay? Make sure that whatever it is that you are doing is aligned with the values and culture of the company. Pinupush mo, boss, push natin. Work from anywhere, work from home. Uso yan ngayon. Gusto ng mga empleyado yan. Ha? Paano natin gagawin yan if funeral home tayo? Embalsa mo at home? So, diba? So, you have to align it. Ano ba yung culture ninyo? Ano ba yung values ninyo? Ano ba yung line of business ninyo? Ano ang applicable sa inyo? Ano ang importante sa inyo? When we say values, hindi ibig sabihin ito na yung, kasi sabi sa ano namin, sa corporate values namin, kasama doon yung flexibility. So, dapat work from home. Hindi. Flexibility is not just being flexible in how your work is set up. Flexibility can mean many things. So you need to know what are the definitions of your different values and align your framework with that. Ang inyong value is pagiging efficient with using the least cost possible. Tapos yung total rewards framework mo ang mahal. Hindi na kagad match. So it has to match. Why is it that it has to match? Your values represent the behaviors that are acceptable within your organization. If yung inyong values, okay, ay hindi kayo aligned doon, then your projects, your programs, okay, hindi niya na po-promote ngayon yung behaviors na gusto niyong mangyari. And total rewards framework is rewarding the behavior and the productivity that you want for your organization or that your organization needs. Okay, it's not there na para wala nang para pwedeng ipagmalaki sa mga competitors. No, there has to be, sabi natin kanina, a return on investment. Keep up with the trends. Okay? Bilang mga HR, and ito isa sa mga napansin ko when we did the tech HR in Singapore. Okay? A lot of people signed up for that. But very few actually went to Singapore. Okay? I'm not judging those who did not go dahil meron silang mga kailangan gawin, etc., etc. But things like this, and it doesn't have to be Singapore. It can be a local conference. Okay, it can be a local conference. It can be a training. You need to always be aware of this because in these conferences, nadidiscuss dyan kung ano yung mga latest trends. Okay? For example, if I tell you about gamification, you might think that it's something new. Some of you may not because you're already familiar with it, etc., etc. But a lot of you would say na, ay, paano ba yung gamification? Ano ba yan? Maglalagay lang ng games? Actually, we get that a lot. Whenever I say that we have a training on gamification, people think that it's all about games. Gamification is not about games. Okay? It's not about games. So pag sinabi kong gamified training, it doesn't mean na pag nag-training tayo, magpapasahan kayo ng bola, meron kayong yung mga usual na pass the message. That's not gamification. Okay? That's not gamified training. That's just having structured learning experiences during the training. Gamification is more than that. So things like that, you need to understand that. And for you to understand that and incorporate that within your total rewards framework, you need to know the trends. So, yung gamification, bago pa lang sa Pilipinas, bago sa pandinig ng karamihan ng HR, but it's actually something that has been happening in other parts of the world for a long time na. Okay, when I joined Game Loft, they were actually already looking into how to gamify the whole HR processes. And I was just fortunate enough to, really understand ano ba yung mga gaming principles and incorporate that dun sa HR framework namin. Okay? Because gamification is all about gaming principles being applied to your usual policies and procedures. So gamification is one trend. Working from anywhere, hybrid setup. These are other types of trends or other ways of making sure that there's flexibility and having a good total rewards framework. Yung mga yan, mga trends yan, and we need to keep up with those. Nahuhuli actually ang Pilipinas. Okay, at least from what I am seeing with our clients and with some colleagues, medyo nahuhuli tayo. In our country, and when I was given the chance to speak with Dave Ulrich, this was actually one of the things that we discussed. In our country, we are still more administrative rather than strategic. Multinational companies, they have the luxury of becoming strategic only because they usually follow kung ano man yung practices sa kanilang mga head offices, headquarters outside of the Philippines. But local companies, they have a hard time moving to a strategic HR because they are not aware of the trends and they still see HR and even the HR themselves act administratively. Pang-administration lang. They know SSS, they know PhilHealth, they know Pag-ibig. But when it comes to getting all of this and incorporating it in a total rewards framework, bumabagsak. Okay? Kasi they do not understand how all of this framework should be created. They just copy-paste, ay maganda yon, copy. Ay maganda yon, copy. Without understanding how to implement it dun sa kanilang organization mismo and what are the factors that they have to consider. So make sure that you keep up with trends. You also need to make sure that your total rewards, the framework itself is balanced, flexible, inclusive, and fair. And I'll get into details. I'll get into the details of this later. But you need to make sure that there is a goal. You know how to get from point A to point B, and you know how to make sure na when you implement it, it's not arbitrary. Okay? Remember, when you create a total rewards framework, hindi kagad yan lahat ma-enjoy yung total rewards framework. Kasi kailangan mong ma-identify ano ba yung gusto mong i-reward. It's called total rewards framework because it rewards a specific behavior or performance. Now, once you have all of this framework, once you have all of these strategies, you need to communicate it to your employees. Hindi po pwedeng implement policy, sumunod kayong lahat. Okay? Anyone who's being told what to do will always push back. Try niyo yan sa jowa niyo. Sabihin sa jowa mo na, hoy, mag-text ka sa akin. May pushback. But if you let them realize that they need to follow it, that it is something that is good for them, mas mabilis. Okay? So you need to communicate it to them properly. Okay? Dito papasok yung change management na nabanggit natin kanina. Ano yan? May step-by-step approach yan. Hindi po pwedeng, eto na guys, okay na. Eto na ang rewards natin, reward system natin, eto ang compensation, eto ang benefits. Bawal kumontra, pirma na lang kayo dyan, o orientation tayo, tapos na. Hindi po yun ganun. Okay? Unti-unti yan. You have to market the idea. You need them to understand what the total rewards framework is all about. And then once okay na lahat, then you do an official launch. Okay? Tayo sa HR, hindi lang tayo guidance counselor, psychologists, manghuhula at kung ano-ano pa. Tayo din po ay marketing person. We market these projects that we have, these programs that we have to the employees. We get their buy-in so that when we launch it, mas madali or mas mataas yung likelihood of a success. Okay? And lastly, do not forget to track the cost and the impact. And this is not just for total rewards framework. You need to do this for all projects that you have within HR. You implement, you track, is there a change in the behavior? Yung ano ba yung goal natin? SMART goal, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound. Sabi natin, increase attendance by or decrease absences by 5%. Uy, was there a decrease? Month 1, month 2, month 3, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, may change ba? If there's a change, it's a success. If there's no change, why? Okay? And then you track also the cost. Ano yung costs involved? Is there any way na itong cost na to ay mapababa pa? Meron ba tayong way para ma-change yan? Mas maging effective tayo in the management of the cost? So, titingnan nyo din yun. Kasi, maaaring meron ngang impact, but if the cost outweighs the impact, hindi pa rin siya successful. Hindi dapat mas malaki yung cost for a very small change in behavior. Okay, imagine mo, let's say yung jowa mo, 'di ba? Gusto mo na ikaw lang ang napapansin niya. So para ikaw lang ang napapansin niya, binilan mo siya ng damit, kotse, relo, pinadala mo saan saang lugar, sinasama mo siya pag tuwing lalabas ka. Ang laki na ng nagagastos mo, pero ang tanging bibigay lang niya sa'yo ay isang text ng good morning kada umaga. Hindi fair, di ba? So dapat yung cost, if it does not outweigh, at least kahit papaano break even naman. Okay? Dun sa return on investment. Okay? And then from there, check mo na lang kung paano mo siya pababaguhin para mas cost effective siya. Okay? So when you implement your total rewards strategy, 4 steps ulit yan. You assess, you design, you execute, and then you implement. Okay? Assess what you have, design the program, execute, and implement. Okay? So actually, summary siya nung 9 steps natin kanina. Now, there are things that you have to keep in mind. Kasi yung iba na, pag meron silang bagong concept, parang, uy, bagong concept, I want to implement this ASAP. Wait lang. Kalma, mga HR. First, when you are creating your total rewards framework, you would ask your employees, what do you think about this? What benefit would you like to suggest? Always have, and we oftentimes forget this, team versus individual performance. Because if it's just individual performance, you are creating a culture of competition. Employees now will not help each other. So there should be a reward for the individual performance, and there should also be an award for the team performance. When we created the gamification program for Game Loft here in the Philippines and in Southeast Asia, we actually created yung mga points that are for individuals, and then there is also a part there that allowed the whole team to get points or to sum up all the points of the individual so that they get to enjoy a team reward. So meron kaming mga individual performers, merong mga game changers, yan, individual awards yan. At meron din namang team of the year. Ito yung team na may pinakamalaking number of points. So may mga ganun. Okay? Hindi po pwedeng individual lang. Hindi rin naman po pwede na team palagi ng team para hindi sila nagko-compete. Hindi po pwede yon. Kasi pag team naman yan ng team, there will always be one member of the team. At alam nyo to, nung kayo ay nagtitesis, nung college kayo, there is always that one member na hindi ganong katindi ang effort. And here's the thing with when it comes to human behavior. Let's say you are a group of 10 people and you have 9 people who are performers and you have one na petics lang. Sige, kaya nyo naman yan. Petics na lang ako. First few months, walang problema. Your 9 performers will still perform. Okay? Because they can see each other na nagko-compete. They are doing their best. So, they are still energized. But, sa 9 na yan, when someone sees na yung ika-10, wait lang, bakit si Pedro parang wala siyang ginagawa? Bakit? Pero nakakakuha pa rin siya ng incentive. Ako, dami kong ginawa, pareho lang kami ng incentive. Teka, pag buong grupo nag-produce, basta't nag-produce, kahit pala mag-petics ako, may makukuha pa rin ako. Petics na lang ako. Pedro nga, nagpe-petics eh. Diba? Nakakapag-produce naman kami. Pedro nagpe-petics, edi petics na rin ako. So now, you have 2 petics, 8 performers. Yung ika-8 mo, ba't si Pedro tsaka si Juan walang ginagawa pero may incentive pa din? Ay, ayoko na, petics na din ako. Hanggang sa darating yung time na isa, dalawa na lang ang nagtatrabaho at maaaring dumating pa yan sa time na wala nang nagtatrabaho kasi unfair. Ako napagod, sila hindi napagod, tapos merong incentive, edi pare-pareho na lang tayo wag mapagod, walang incentive. Okay? So, hindi rin maganda na team performance palagi. So, team and individual performance when you are doing a total rewards framework. Okay? Now, you also have to look at attraction and retention. Okay? Most people in HR, when they create salary structures, HR programs, rewards and recognition programs, ang tinitignan nila is how to attract people. Gusto ko na yung salary structure ko competitive para madali kaming maka-hire. Walang problema dun. But you are forgetting something. Once you attract, what do you do? Because if you attract only at ma-realize ni employee na, ay, ang ganda ng start pero ang pangit pala pag tumagal na, ayoko na. Aalis na naman. Okay? Turnover na naman. Attrition na naman. Okay? And you need to spend na naman for the hiring of the replacement. So, sabi nga natin, di ba? You attract, you motivate, you retain. Hindi po pwedeng attract lang ng attract. Kasi if you can't motivate them and retain them, if you can't motivate them, wala na kagad return on investment. And if you can't retain them, mas mataas ang cost because you need to keep on replacing people. So, you attract, you motivate, and you retain. At the same time, you also have to look at satisfaction and fairness. Very easy. And usually, mga bago sa HR, di ba? Ganito yung mindset nila, kadalasan. Ay, yung mga employees, nahihirapan na sila. Masyadong mababa ang sweldo, or masyadong konti ang leave credits, or masyadong mababa ang coverage ng HMO. Boss, itaas natin para satisfied sila. Okay, satisfied sila. Pero walang return on investment. So, hindi po pwedeng basta satisfied lang. Okay? Or let's say you have an employee na, ayoko na boss, pagod na ako sa trabaho ko, magre-resign na lang ako. Immediate resignation, bahala kayo kung gusto nyo ako i-awol, etc., etc. Ang baba-baba ng sweldo ko, sa inyo na yan, aalis na ako. Si boss, wait, huwag kang umalis. Counter offer. Okay? Now, si employee, counter offer, mas mataas. Satisfied na ako sa sweldong ito, hindi na muna ako aalis. Is it fair? Of course, it's not fair. Why? You are rewarding one person and sacrificing the rest of the company. Kaya nga lagi naming binabanggit din na hindi always magandang idea ang counter offer because you are, number 1, setting a precedence, and number 2, you are sacrificing the rest of the team. Madedemotivate ngayon sila. Okay? So, satisfaction and fairness. Dapat pareho yan when you do your total rewards framework. Kanino to ia-apply? Bakit sa kanila lang ia-apply? And how do I deal with those na hindi tatamaan or hindi pagiging eligible for this? How do I ensure that they are able to see this as something to look forward to rather than something that should demotivate them? Okay? And then of course, cost and efficiency. Hindi po pwede na ang ganda, ang bongga ng total rewards framework, pero ang gastos, ay, butas ang bulsa. 3 months lang, hindi na kayang i-sustain ni company. It has to be something that is sustainable for the company. And it has to be something that gives you the maximum return on investment. Again, if there is a return on investment, then you'll have more funds to support the costs. Okay? 'Di ba? Hindi ka naman mag-i-invest ng pagkalaki-laki sa isang bagay na 10 piso lang makukuha mo. Invest ka ng 1,000 tapos 10 piso lang makukuha mo. Hindi. Invest ka ng 1,000 with the expectation that you will get double the amount or triple the amount. And that is also how you create total rewards framework. It has to be something that gives you maximum productivity so that you're able to maximize as well the sales of the company, the income of the company. At syempre, legal compliance. Okay? Madalas yan, may post sa Philippines HR Group. Gusto po kasi ng employee namin na wag na siyang dedaka ng SSS, ng PhilHealth, ng Pag-ibig. And we want to implement that kasi mababa lang ang sweldo nila. We want to keep them satisfied. We are being fair kasi lahat naman sila and they are willing naman to sign off, to sign a waiver para hindi na sila dededakan. So, it's cost efficient for us. Hindi na namin kailangan magbayad ng SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig. So, gusto namin gawin yun. How do we go about it? Teka, legal compliance. In SSS, Social Security Act of 2018, yung ating Pag-ibig Law, yung ating Universal Healthcare, ano ang nakalagay? Mandatory. Employers are mandated to deduct from the salary of the employees their monthly contributions and remit it to the government agency involved. Mandatory. So, hindi dahil sa, ito yung nakaka-attract sa kanila. Ito yung pwedeng mag-retain sa kanila. Just because it's that doesn't mean that it's legally compliant and should be included in your total rewards framework. Hindi. You have to consider as well the legal compliance. One thing that I learned during the Tech HR is that the administrative part of HR is not going away. Di naman yan mawawala. Okay? It's never going away. However, doesn't mean that it's the human who would be doing that because the administrative task of HR can be automated. And at some point, AI will be doing all of the administration. Anong mangyayari ngayon kay HR? Papalitan na po kami, mawawalan po kami ng trabaho. Ay, hindi po. Okay? Mawawalan lang ng trabaho yung nakalimutan to keep up with the trends. But those who are able to keep up with the trends, who understands how to implement the total rewards framework, they would be able to evolve, better themselves, and become a strategic HR. Okay? But again, before you can move to strategic, foundation should be there. Understanding SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, 13th month, separation pay, etc. Dapat kabisado nyo yan. Because you cannot build on something if there's no foundation. Imagine mo yun, di ba? You'll come up with leave administration policy as part of your total rewards framework, but you don't understand service incentive leaves. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung pinagbabasihan ng batas na yon. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung pinanggagalingan. Or you want to come up with 14th month, 15th month, 16th month, but you don't understand the 13th month law. Paano mo gagawin yun? Or pinakamagandang example, you want to provide separation pay sa isang empleyado. Hala, paano po yung taxability nito? Or retirement pay. Hala, paano po yung taxability nito? Those are foundational skills. You need to understand that so that when you create the framework, ay gusto namin itaas si Pag-ibig, hindi na 2% of 5,000 yung mga employees. Gusto namin 5%. Alam mo kung anong impact niya. Kung taxable ba siya or hindi. Ay, gusto namin magbigay ng separation pay kahit resign. Alam mo ang impact niya, yung taxability niya, kung anong ilalagay mo sa framework. Or gusto namin magbigay ng more than 2 months pagdating sa Magna Carta, especially for women under Magna Carta. Alam mo ngayon kung anong taxability, ano ang impact, paano mo siya i-incorporate with your SSS, with your other leave benefits within your organization. Okay, so foundational, and then you move to strategic, and then you make sure when you're creating all of these projects, programs, particularly the total rewards, what is it that I want to reward? It's called total rewards for a reason. Okay? You need to reward something. What is it that you want to reward? Okay? And with that, I would like to thank you everyone. Napagkasya natin hanggang alas 5. Saktong-sakto, hindi tayo sumobra sa oras. Ayan po. So thank you everyone who listened to our talk right now. Coach Dar and Mentor Tina.
Ayan na. Is there a slide so that they know how to contact you? Because Rona is the payroll slash total rewards slash compensation slash benefit guru. For those who don't know, kasi you always see her here, diba? She owns Uprush, and they really hold parang regular trainings on this. So if
Yes.
your company needs training on this, then Rona is the person to contact along with Rona Del. Kasi nakikita lang natin siya, akala lang natin parang co-host eh. But no, she actually owns a company who does exactly this, and her specialty is to go to different companies to structure this. Rona, do you have a slide or anything?
Actually, I don't have a slide right now, but for those who are interested, we'll put in the comment section mamaya the website of Uprush. You can go to uprush-sg slash uprush-sg.com. So yun po yung aming Uprush Academy. All of our trainings are there. You can also visit our Facebook page, Uprush. Nandun din nakapost yung aming mga events. We actually have an event coming this Saturday, employer branding for talent acquisition. So if you're interested with that, this Saturday na po yun.
All
Okay po?
right. And ayun ang
Presentation will upload.
pinaka-candy natin, which is the question and answer portion. For those who have questions for Rona, please leave them on the comment box so that we will ask them one by one. Kasi marami ka na natutunan sa presentation, pero usually sa Q&A, mas marami ka pang natutunan, more
Yes.
customized to your
Correct.
needs. So with that, I'm just going to say, I'd like to greet Pulma Reggie, who says good afternoon. Lizelle Simon, who said good afternoon. Silverio Baldoza Jr., who left a comment saying mental health is as important as physical health. Karil Alontaga, Ed Marcelo is watching from Davao City. Maria Gracia for Fremista. Fernandez Jomil said total rewards is managing the overall welfare of the employees from monetary career development and work life balance to attract and retain employees. There is Heart. Thank you for the free knowledge, ma'am. Ito pa, mga questions. Is training gamification related to structured learning experience or SLE?
Actually, no.
Mm.
SLEs are games. Okay?
Ah,
That's not gamification. Gamification technically is the adaptation of gaming principles to existing frameworks. So, medyo technical yan, pero yung gamification, it takes into consideration the different personalities that a person may have when it comes to games. So, you have killers, you have, nakalimutan ko na yung tatlo, you have socializers, may mga ganun, may mga different personalities na kino-consider. And ano ba yung mga activities that would appeal to them? That's gamification.
okay. I also want to send love and compliments to Ma'am Rona. Maria Gracia Fremisa says, thank you so much. Michelle Del Fernando, galing na explanation. Thank you, Coach Rona
Hi,
Florentino.
Mitch!
Pwede po bang makahingi ng copy of presentation, Ma'am Rona?
Yes, we'll upload it po mamaya sa Philippines HR group.
All right. Daday is watching from Parañaque. Very helpful. Thanks, Ma'am Rona. Watching from Jensan. And then Silverio Baldosa is thanking you for another great presentation. I'll start with a Q&A, ha?
Sige.
Parang kasi a lot of HRs, when they come in, uh, the company or the culture is already set. Every new HR who comes into a position or into a company already has very high hopes, 'di ba? In changing
Mm-mm.
the company for the better. Kaya nga sila lumipat eh. Pero when they come into a company, marami ng mga old timers, maraming ng mga deep-stated things that are inside the company. Like for example, uh, yung benefits and rewards na sometimes mukhang very hard to change. Lalong-lalo na if baguhan ka. What's your advice for these parang HR, well-meaning HRs who want to improve the total reward system and see a lot of injustices? Lalo na yung mga taong nare-reward siguro pero hindi naman dapat i-reward, pero yung mga taong magagaling na hindi naman napapansin. It's so overwhelming. Where can they start?
Okay. First is do an audit. Okay? Pro tip para sa mga bagong HR, especially those in the supervisory, managerial, director
Hmm.
levels, when you start with a new company and the HR
Hmm.
there, may HR team na or meron na sa existing projects
Hmm.
and programs, do an audit first so that you know kung ano ba yung ipaprioritize nyo. You can't do everything all at once. So you need to know your priorities. And then after that, you need to come up with a specific goal that you would want to achieve. And then target a low-lying fruit. You need to have a project champion. Okay? You cannot, tulad nga sabi natin kanina, di ba? You can't do this all by your own. You need to have
Hmm.
a project champion. Someone who can be your kumbaga taga push nung project mo with the rest of the management team. Kasi magkakaroon yan ng ano, mayroong magpo-push back at magpo-push back sa inyo. Okay? But you need to have those project champions who can champion the project on your behalf, both on the side of the management and on the side of the employees. Kasi pag bago ka, pareho yan ayaw sa'yo. Okay? Assume nyo na yan na pag bago kayo, unless na lang sobrang wala talagang kwenta yung nauna sa inyo, assume nyo na pag pumasok kayo, may hesitations yan sa pagtatrust sa inyo. Kasi hindi naman tayo kagad nagtatrust eh. Kahit gano'n ka pa kagaling do sa previous work mo, ano pa rin yan. Kumbaga, wait and see palagi yung mga tao nang nakaganong mode sila. So get a project champion who can champion your projects and your frameworks, and then make sure that you have goals, specific goals, smart objectives that you can explain to them in layman's term, in a way that they can readily understand. And then get the help of your project champions to identify sino ba yung pwede nyo isama. Kunin nyo yung pinakamareklamo. Okay? Yung pinakamareklamo sa company ninyo, who is also productive ha, hindi po pwedeng panireklamo lang. So look at the people within the organization na mareklamo pero alam yung meron valid yung kanyang reklamo. Get them to become part of the project management team who would help you in implementing these projects. Kasi once you have yung pinakamareklamo, they are the best ambassadors kasi once you're able to convert them, yung reklamo nila, yung ingay nila sa pagrereklamo, they are also as loud pag sila naman yung nag-champion ng project mo. So yun yung recommendation ko sa mga bago, nag-i-start pa lang sa mga companies.
I think people undermine the importance of the likability of a person. Kasi you get more things done when people in the company actually like you as a person. Kasi ang dumadating sa HR pag bago sila, I'm right, you're wrong. This is how we used to
Correct.
do it. This is what used to work before, and I was very successful in doing this. And it's all I. So a lot of the people inside the company is like, sure, it worked for you before, but you don't really understand where we're coming from. And if you push too much, you'll end up isolating allies. So the
Correct.
very first thing, as sabi nga what you said, is that when you have to start getting to know the people involved and earning their trust. Kasi you can still
Correct.
be right and people will push back because they hate your guts. But if they like you as a person because they know that you are championing a cause for the good of all, then your project will have more feet than if galit ng tao sa'yo lahat. So parang in a way, it's not good to be impatient too. Diba, Ma'am Rona?
True. True. Hindi, kasi minsan, pag bago tayo, ang tendency natin is we would want to effect changes agad. It doesn't
Mm.
work that way. It takes
Mm.
time. Okay? So, tama yung sinabi
Mm.
mo na you have to get muna yung kanilang buy-in. Kailangan
Mm.
magkaroon muna ng trust sa'yo and they need to see you as someone that they can rely on. Kasi pag
Mm.
pasok mo pa lang at gusto mo na kagad baguhin lahat, of course, magkakaroon ng pushback. And then, don't start from
Mm.
scratch. Kasi minsan, pagpasok ng mga bagong HR, nandun kagad sila sa mode na, ay, kailangan ko i-improve to. Kalma lang muna. Don't start from scratch. Kaya nga meron kayong audit eh. You need to understand what's happening and then from there, you make the necessary changes. Okay?
Mhm. Mhm.
Prioritize. And when I say make the necessary changes, it's not, don't do yung total 360 kagad from what is being practiced. Kasi pag 360, definitely there will be a pushback. Start with what they have, and then unti-unti. Remember yung story about yung palaka na nilagay sa mainit na tubig? Nung gumukulo na yung tubig at nilagay yung palaka, tumalon yung palaka. But, when somebody started with the palaka in the water na hindi pa kumukulo, and then nilagay siya doon sa kalan, tsaka siya kumulo, hindi tumalon yung palaka. Because, nag-start na siya doon, hindi niya napansin because the change was very minute. Hindi niya napansin yung pagbabago. And that is also how you deal with the employees. Hindi kailangan na yung change is super major change agad. Baby steps
Okay.
so that madali silang nakaka-adapt dun sa mga changes.
There's a comment by Miss Ja from the Philippine HR group. Ja Lagazo said, just would like to share that one of the fundamentals in total rewards, particularly on comp ben, is the Article 100 of the Philippine Labor Code prohibiting the diminution of benefits. And we
Correct.
know, Ma'am Rona, of certain institutions na yung Xerox machine girl, minsan mas mataas pa yung kaysa sa manager compensation because of either parang collective bargaining agreements, because of some parang nakasulat sa policy sa tenure that every year you get an increase of 5%. And obviously because of compounding, ang taas na ng
Oo.
sahod niya kasi tumagal na siya ng mga 20 or 30 years. And that can cause a bit of issues lalo na sa mga managers na mas mababa yung sahod kaysa sa Xerox machine girl. Given this, di ba, it's really a struggle eh. How do
Mm-mm.
you manage that? Kasi you can't get rid of a machine girl, Xerox machine girl.
True.
But you can't also increase a person's wage. Pagbago, 1 to 2 years lang yung tao eh. How do you put the balance? Lalo na because bawal bawas ang benefits already enjoyed by certain employees for a long time and then hindi mo pwedeng tanggalin pag walang kapalit.
Okay. Tama yung sinabi nung nag-comment, ano, yung ating article on non-diminution of benefits. Importante yan na pag kumuha kayo ng total rewards framework, hindi kayo magtatanggal ng benefit na na-enjoy na siya. But the second part is nang walang kapalit. Okay? Kasi people often forget that. Akala nila, absolutely you can't remove any benefit. No, it's not. Okay? You can remove the benefit, but there has to be a replacement, something of equal value. Okay? Pwede siya. Okay? So you can start from there, that the concept of removing something but giving something of equal value in return. Okay? And then, you need to make sure, yun nga sinasabi natin kanina, yung mga foundations, kailangan maayos na yun bago pa kayo mag-create ng kung ano pa mang mga rewards and recognition programs. For example, if you're seeing a disparity in the salary, then you need to address kagad the salary structure. Okay? If, for example, you have someone, let's say, Xerox girl is getting, dahil nakalagay hard-coded sa kanyang contract na she's going to have 2% increase per year, then you need to make sure that what you're giving to other employees would have to be something higher than the 2% para lang mai-adjust mo siya ng tama. Doesn't have to be something na taas kagad, akyat kagad. It can be something na paunti-unti mong ibibigay. Common mistake or common misconception among HR is that when you do the salary structure, dapat pasok agad doon. Not necessarily. Wala naman tayong batas na nagsasabi na pag may salary structure, dapat within the range kagad. Pwede mong unti-untiin yun. Pwede yung pagtaas nun unti-unti. And pwede rin na yung ibang employees, hold muna increase ninyo. Okay? At the same time, pwede rin actually na mag-reorganize kayo at mag-iba-iba yung mga job grades ninyo. There has been a lot of Supreme Court jurisprudences that allows that for the reason of reorganization as long as it is done in good faith and there is no diminution in pay or pagbaba ng sweldo. Okay? Posible na mag-change yung job title, but if it's done in good faith, it's not something that is done to discriminate against another employee, inaalaw naman yan. Malawak kasi si management prerogative eh. Napaka-makapangyarihan ni management prerogative and we can do a lot within management prerogative. Isa sa mga keyword lang na dapat tandaan is that it has to be in good faith and it's not against any existing law. Yun yung kailangan nating tandaan.
There is a problem right now kasi a lot of traditional businesses have been there over the last 20, 25, 30 years. And a lot of the policies and rewards were done by previous executives who probably have retired or passed away already. And the issue is sometimes the rewards might have been a bit irresponsible when they were implemented in the past. Yung tipong parang na lusutan. Tapos hindi nila alam na tatagal pala yung kumpanya ng ganong katagal. But because of that type of arrangement, salary expense, retirement, benefits, bonuses, whatever, lumobo. Na siya na yung naging pinakamalaking expense talaga. And this has happened in the US. Na yung pension plans ng company, yung exact thing na nagpapabagsak at nagpapalubog at nagpapabankrupt ng company because especially for very traditional businesses, the sales revenue is slowing down. Pero yung pension nila, because of some plans previously, is now ballooning to a
Tumataas.
huge amount that it now bankrupts the entire company. And that's becoming true for many companies in the Philippines na more than 20 years, 30 years na. If you come in that, like it seems like a sinking ship eh. Like if the people don't want to change, the company will. Kasi makikita mo naman sa math yan eh, di ba? Very simple math. You don't have to like live through it. Alam mo na talaga within the next 5 to 10 years. Pareho ba to sa SSS, di ba? Within the next 5 to 10 years, lulubog talaga because yung labas expenses is higher than yung pumapasok. And hindi mo talaga minsan ma-control yung sales. How can this be? Kasi parang it's not easy eh, 'di ba? Parang Rona, what are your thoughts? And if the people inside don't want to change, hindi talaga kaya yung the company will go bankrupt. And it's because of salaries and benefits. I mean, that's the hard fact eh. How can
First thing that
Rona,
you
oo,
have
'di
to
ba?
do first thing that you have to do is talk to the employees. I think one of the reasons why nahihirapan tayo is that we always assume that the employees will not understand. But employees will understand
Mm,
so long as you're transparent with them. So talk to them, be transparent with them, and then stop the benefit for any incoming employee. Kasi yun yung
right.
pinakamadali eh. For any incoming
Mm,
employee, any change in the policy, wala, hindi nila pwede sabihin na, diminution of benefits. Hindi ka pa empleyado, binago namin ito, so any incoming employee, subject na kayo with the new policy. Then the old employees, the legacy employees, you just have to wait until such time na mawala silang lahat. But habang inaantay mo yun, talk to them, let them know na, okay, we're having difficulties, we are not sure up to when we're going to have this, but this is the plan. Here is what we intend to do. What are your thoughts? What are your suggestions? Because if the employees see that talagang nahihirapan na kayo at nakikita nila na you are trying to do your best to make ends meet, sila mismo magbibigay sa inyo ng mga recommendations. Remember yung isa
mm,
nating guest dati, si Piandre? They
correct.
had the same approach. They talk to the employees, they let the employees know what's happening, and the employees themselves actually recommended kung anong po pwedeng gawin, with some of the employees even saying na ay okay with reduction in salary. Makasurvive lang yung company. Employees will understand. Basta be honest and be transparent with them. And then, once na maging okay na, give back to them kung ano man yung pinigil ninyo or hindi nyo binigay sa kanila. At some point, aalis din naman yung mga legacy cases nyo. Legacy cases ang tinatawag ko palagi dyan. Your legacy cases will be, mawawala din lahat yan. Yung mga new employees, sila na yung magiging tenured. And the new employees are already subject to the new policy. And then once all of your legacy cases are gone, wala ka ng problema. Yung new policy na ngayon ang i-implement mo, wala ka nang po problemahin doon sa mga umalis. Nakatipid ka na ngayon. So, that's one.
So, konting tiis lang and konting strategy para makaahon dun sa mabigat na problema na nagkaroon. Edwin Alulo Jr. gave a very good question. In line with the firm-wide salary adjustment, we will provide de minimis benefit to Philippine employees effective by the end of the year. We do have a concern for those employees who will not be receiving a salary increase or employees who will receive a salary increase that is less than the maximum de minimis benefit of 3,880 pesos. Would that be legally applicable if we provide options for them to agree or not to include the minimis benefits in their salary package, which will potentially decrease their basic pay / daily pay? Or should we wait for them to have a salary increase which is greater than the de minimis benefits before implementing the non-taxable allowance to their salary package?
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing na kailangan ko lang i-mention, de minimis is management prerogative. Okay? De minimis is management prerogative. There's no requirement for companies to provide de minimis. At the same time, if you do provide de minimis, you don't have to provide everything. It can be, let's say you only want to provide clothing allowance, okay? Or let's say you want to provide rice allowance ng 500 pesos lang. That's perfectly acceptable. Ang sabi lang ni BIR, wag ka lang lalagpas, let's say for rice allowance, wag ka lang lalagpas ng 2,000 pesos if you do want to provide one type of de minimis. So that's one. Now, from what I understand, wala silang salary increase.
Kunyari, Ma'am Rhona, di ba? A lot of people kasi, during the pandemic, parang and saka because I can understand kasi the rising cost of living, inflation, a lot of companies parang nagbukas sila ng bibig in 2020, 2021 na dadagdag sila ng allowance just to help people tide over the pandemic and the rising cost of goods. Bigla-bigla, for example, in June, parang na-implement yung wage increase. And this for minimum wage workers. So, parang naipit sila na at that time, it was for goodwill. In-announce nila mas maraming de minimis. Tapos na yun, umakyat tuloy yung base pay. So, medyo ang daming tao sa isang factory. Lumobo tuloy yung binigay mo na lahat ng tulong mo at that time kasi akala mo kailangan nila ng tulong. Tapos, tumaas pa yung base pay because of the wage increase. Tuloy, parang yung tao, ayaw nila magpababa ng de minimis. And yung base pay umakyat, naipit tuloy yung company kasi it's more than what they budgeted. The labor expense will be. Na double trouble tuloy sila. Kasi hindi naman nila alam ng tao na mag-i-increase ng base pay. And at that time, during the pandemic, many employers were very generous because they really wanted to help out their people, especially when they were cutting days. Hello, Rhona? Yeah, kasi parang 'di ba parang may nangyari talaga. It's really kaya there were a lot of questions in the Philippine HR group regarding this kasi na-max out talaga yung de minimis. Nakaka-announce lang wala pang isang taon tapos umakyat lahat ng wages.
Siguro, correct. Okay, in the future, doon mo tayo sa pwede nyo gawin in the future, wag kayong magbibigay ng benefit na walang context, walang parameters, walang policy, walang procedure. Wag kayong magsasabi na, okay, we'll give you the minimis, okay na yun. Always be careful with what you announce. Okay? So, if you're, for example, you want to provide the minimis as a way to tide them over because of rising costs, let them know that you are providing this type of benefit because of the rising cost. Mention if it's temporary or permanent and what would cause the company to take it back. Kasi if you say that, if you don't say na it's temporary, then the assumption is that it's permanent. And when you give a de minimis, our laws are very clear about that. you cannot move whatever is in the de minimis to your basic so that you meet yung minimum wage.
Yeah,
Bawal yun.
correct.
However, if you have a policy or if you mention that this is temporary, we're just giving this as a way to tide you over, okay? And in case of yada yada yada, kung naman yung mga situations, this might be taken back or reallocated, then you are safe. Okay? You have to be
Mm-mm.
clear whenever you are providing benefits. Okay? Kasi in absence of any categorization ng kung ano ba tong benefit na to, then you are required by law na magdagdag sa minimum without changing the de minimis. Okay? So you have to be
Mm-mm.
particularly clear kung ano ba yun. Ang dami niyan eh. Tama ka, noong pandemic, ang daming nag-increase ng mga allowances,
Nagbigay,
ang daming mga
oo.
nagbigay ng mga taxable. Kasi nga, gusto nila talagang
Tutulong
tulungan
ka.
without affecting the basic. Oo, kasi pag basic, kasama si 13th month, si SSS. Siyempre si company
Mm.
din naman, they have to make sure that it's something na hindi sila mahihirapan din. So, pag ganun magbibigay kayo, always be clear kung bakit nyo binibigay, hanggang kailan ibibigay, and if it's temporary or permanent. Kasi pag hindi nyo kinategorize yun, it becomes something that's permanent and you cannot take it away without providing something of equal value.
And I think that should be basic HR everywhere. Kasi for us, people always teach about compensation and benefits. But what you've just emphasized, ulitin natin yung sinabi ni Ma'am Rona kasi sobrang ganda ng sinabi niya. Huwag kayong magbigay ng kahit anong benefit na walang kondisyon. Na pwede ninyong tanggalin yan in the future. Unless later on, you want to maipit ka. Kasi since na-promise mo na, forever hanggang mamatay ang kumpanya, kailangan mong ibigay. Okay? Mahirap kasi minsan bigay ka ng
Mm-mm.
bigay, hindi mo kinompute, possible na yung binibigay mo sobra, baka lumubog yung company mo. And I think people never talked about it before. Everyone was talking about rewards, compensation, benefits, diba? De minimis. But nobody ever talked about, before the
Mm-mm.
pandemic, nobody really talked about taking it back. Because
Yes.
everybody thought that, the pandemic was a black swan event. So nobody thought that the party would ever stop. But it did stop. And a lot of companies
Correct.
who gave so much was caught. Sila pa na dole.
Correct.
Diba?
Oo,
Like, paano
sila
yun?
ngayon
Diba? Parang,
naiisip.
ang, ikaw na nga yung mabait, hindi naman mabait, pero ikaw na nga yung generous. Tapos ikaw pa yung dinodole. Parang, what do you think, Rona? Kasi it really hurts the HR. Ikaw na nga nag-suggest, gusto mong tumulong, tapos later on, because of the project that you proposed, ang dami mo namang dole cases kasi people are complaining. Where do
True,
you
true, true.
stand? Where do you
Kaya nga
stand?
yung sinasabi natin, when you are going to introduce a benefit, a program, any program actually, not just in terms of benefits, whenever you're introducing a benefit, baby steps palagi. Small items muna. Huwag kagad, wag kagad full benefit or full program kagad. Unti-unti. So, if ang kaya pa lang, let's say, the minimis of 500 pesos on the rice allowance, yun lang muna. Okay? Whatever is sustainable. Kasi you don't have to give, akala kasi natin minsan na it has to be something big. Start with
Mm,
something small. If it's
mm,
sustainable, continue
mm,
that. If after
mm,
all conditions, all factors have changed at kaya pa rin siya i-sustain, then you add. Okay? But each time that you add, there has to be an objective on why you are adding that. Ano yung goal mo? Ano yung gusto mong mangyari? Bakit ka nag-add ng benefit na yon? Do not give a benefit ng just because. Diba? What do
mm,
you want to reward? There is always something that you want to reward. If wala lang, gusto mo lang siya ibigay because other companies are providing that, then at some point, it will not be sustainable for you because you might be giving out more than what you are getting in return. Di ba sabi nga natin
right.
kanina, it has to be cost efficient. You don't invest 10,000 pesos just to get 1,000 in return. You
Mm,
give
mm,
10,000
mm,
because you want 20,000 in return. Same is true
mm,
for
mm,
benefits and for any HR program. When you give something, you expect double whatever it is that you have invested. So start small.
mm,
And if it's
mm,
sustainable and there's something that you want to happen, then increase. Something that needs
mm,
to be rewarded, then increase. always tie it with the business strategy and the ability of the company to pay.
I have a pro tip that I want to share din, 'di ba? Kasi a lot of people think, 'di ba? Dan tinatanong kasi ako, is HMO really important in retaining employees? And the people are asking me are usually like small businesses, mga 10 to 100 people. Okay naman eh. This business has been there for a long time. Pero nauso kasi ang HMO because of the mga BPOs ever since. So whenever they hire a new HR manager, sigurado the first thing the HR manager would say is, alam mo, if you want to lower your attrition, you need to put HMO in your company. And I have all these like contacts sa MaxiCare, IntelliCare. And the problem is these HMOs are cost money. If you have 10 to 15 people, I think the cost is around 12,000 to 15,000 per year for around maybe siguro mga 60,000 coverage lang. And so they call me and say, Tina, should I do HMO for my company? Because my HR manager tells me that this is a way for me to stop attrition. And I'm like, dude, matagal ka nang may attrition, di ba? With HMO, without HMO, matagal, people come and go for many different reasons. They have may nabuntis, may nanganak. You know, there's certain things that you cannot stop. Life happens. So, meron talagang aalis at meron talagang nagsistay kahit wala kang HMO. But I usually suggest to mga small companies, first is you can have a prepaid
True.
HMO, which is cheaper. It's one-time use lang.
True.
You can
Correct.
buy it on Lazada or
Yes.
Shopee at 5% discount on a 9, 9, 10, 10 sale. And it covers you for 60,000 to 80,000 person for one pop. And the cost is only what, 1,350 per person. Another way that you can do it
Correct.
is instead of going for a annual HNO, you can pool that HMO fund to one fund in the bank account. And every time somebody has a problem, here's 20,000, here's 30,000. And the amount that you will pay for their health, for their hospitalization, is still lower than enrolling everybody on an HMO. Ulitin ko
Hmm.
So some people, like if you, instead of, kunyari, if you have 150, you have 10 people, you have 150,000. So you're betting that on a 1 year basis, you have 150,000 of hospital, yung nakapeg lang siya, naka-reserve lang siya, na just in case any of your 10 people get sick or any of your 10 people's father or
Mm-mm.
mother get sick, you have money that you can allocate to these people without going through an HMO. So the company becomes their own HMO and getting money
Correct.
from kasi parang a lot of people think kailangan ko ng MaxiCare. Not really, 10 lang kayo eh, 'di ba? So there's another way to go around
Correct.
it
Correct.
and you
Correct.
only pay talaga for the hospitalization. And mabilis pa yung cash bigay. Pero Edwin had a quick question lang regarding tax. A lot of people, they want to save on tax. Employees, they want to reduce their tax, yung withholding tax nila. And it really puts pressure, lalo na for HR and for finance. How much tax do you really want them to save? Kasi talaga minsan naiipit yung company eh. Sa dami ng pabor na binibigay mo sa pagbabawas ng tax. Talagang naiipit. 'Di ba? Parang, can you share with us your experiences on sa akin kasi parang
Tax.
nangyayari nagkakaproblema ka na nag-e-evade ka ng tax eh, 'di ba? Lalo na on terms of
Oo.
commissions.
Correct.
Commission, sabi may mga tao
Okay.
ka ang taas ng commission tapos ginagawa inuukus-ukus mo na lang.
Correct.
And
Okay.
I can
Number one. So,
understand, I can
babalikan ko ulit muna si
understand,
Una.
I'm not
Balikan
sermoning,
ko
I
muna
can
si
understand.
HMO.
Hmm.
Balikan ko muna si HMO kasi may isang nakakalimutan yung ibang mga employers. We actually already have HMO in the form of PhilHealth.
Yeah.
PhilHealth is an HMO. So there is no requirement for you to have additional HMO. However, maganda yung suggestion mo, Tina, yung you pull it together and then you become your own HMO. That's actually very good
Yes.
idea. Kasi kontrolado mo lahat. Okay? And you don't have
Yes.
to pay for admin fee and everything. The only downside to that is if you would want to take advantage of the VAT that gets applied doon sa HMO, you can take advantage of the VAT because it's your own. But again, maganda siyang program because it's very easy to manage, the logistics is very easy to implement, cash mo siyang maibibigay, walang problema. And you don't have to worry about baka ma-reject pag meron kang mga claims, etc. Okay siya. Another option would be employee-employer contribution. Pareho kayo nagko-contribute do sa HMO program. There are HMO programs that have that. Ang advantage noon is that the employee can actually choose to continue the coverage even after they have been separated from the company. Tutuloy nila yung contribution and it becomes an individual
Pero
coverage.
naipit
So
yun
that's
eh, 'di
also
ba?
okay.
Kasi after, oo.
Hindi. Basta si employer ay mabilis makipag-coordinate with the level of coverage. Kung mabilis si HR mag-report. Merong mga
There
ganun
was
na,
an issue before, oo.
huwag kayong Oo. Actually, meron yan. Kasi pag hindi nyo kagad nare-report, na-charge si employer. Another is, you
Yes.
don't need to have Medicard, MaxiCare, or whatever, or the Pacific, Blue Cross, kung ano man yung mga kilalang HMO. You don't need to have that. Ang daming mga HMO providers na hindi masyadong kilala. Let's say, for example, I think we have PhilCare. And at some
Yeah.
point, meron akong HMO ata pangalan. And I think all the other insurance agencies right now, they are also offering some form of an HMO coverage. Take advantage of those. Hindi kailangan MaxiCare, Medicard, etc. Ang kinaganda lang nila MaxiCare and Medicard, they have a good network. But there are also small HMO companies who also have a good network na hindi ganun kamahal. And you don't kasi iba hinahabol nila yung coverage sa St. Luke's, Makati Med, etc. Yun ay nagpapamahal ng inyong HMO coverage. Kung yung
Correct.
empleyado nyo naman, sobrang layo sa St. Luke's. You don't need the St. Luke's coverage. At hindi nyo rin naman kailangan ng sobrang taas na maximum benefit limit. Kasi yung iba, gusto nila 200,000, 250, 300,000. Hindi nyo kailangan ng ganong kalalaki na coverage. If what you can if ang kaya lang ng budget ninyo is 70 MBL maximum benefit limit, go ahead with 70 MBL. Don't shoot for the stars kagad, sobrang taas kagad kasi hindi na siya sustainable, mahirapan kayo. Start small.
Para akala nila
Always
pera
start
yun, 'di ba?
small.
Na pumapasok sa payroll nila. Yung MBL na yan. Kasi sabi, oh, I have 250,000 MBL. I'm like, your bank account has not moved. MBL only works if you need to
Correct.
use it. Pero every year when you're accessing it, it doesn't go, it's not 250,000 to your bank account pag hindi mo ginamit. Sana all, 'di ba? Ayan, sabi nga ni Michelle
Tandaan
Delfinado,
natin nung kasagsagan ng COVID,
right, sabi niya, and if there is no claims
yun
within
daw.
the
So,
year, there's no loss for the part of the company. Lalaki lang ang pot money for that fund. Unlike pag may HMO, pag walang claims ang EE within the year, automatic cost na yung company dahil paid na ang premium. Very true. Pero pag
correct.
ginamit, lalaki
Correct.
pa next
Talaga.
year.
Pag ginamit, mataas naman. Correct. Pag ang
Next
utilization is mataas,
year.
mataas din ang premium na babayaran. So, di ba? So,
Mm-mm.
always go with something na mas logical para sa inyong company. So, kung mas logical approach sa inyo is what Tina mentioned, that you pool your money, keep it somewhere safe, and then if may kailangan yung employees, dun kayo mag-disburse, then go for that. Or if talagang hindi kaya ng company, you still have your PhilHealth, just make sure that you consistently contribute kay PhilHealth kasi kung maaalala nyo, nung kasagsagan ng COVID, ang laki ng kinover ni PhilHealth sa mga, I know because I know someone na yung parents niya tinamaan ng COVID, umabot ng 2 million yung kanilang hospital bills, napababa ni PhilHealth yon to about 500 ata, 508. Hindi ko naman, basta ang laki nung binawas ni PhilHealth.
Pero there's also a change. Pag, for example, if you know you have a large amount of MPL, most employees will pick the best hospital kasi they don't really care about the cost. The problem is, pag pumasok ka na sa isang private hospital like St. Luke's or Medical City, you have to actually stay there for a short amount of time. But if, for example, you get sick and
Oo.
then you stay there for 2 weeks or 1 month, sigurado, mas malaki na yung charges ng hospital bill sa MBL. And maiipit
Correct.
talaga yung employee kasi, for example, let's assume 250,000 yung MBL mo. Malaki. Covered usually. But if you stay there for more than 2 weeks, ubos na yung 250,000 na yan, for sure.
Room and board
And
room pa lang
most
mahal na.
employees do not have the money to pay for the excess. So
Correct.
parang ang sabi ko, parang ang mali lang talaga nila yung pagpili na ng hospital from day one. Because if they chose a cheaper hospital, they would never have finished the 250,000 MBL. But the 250,000 MBL gave them a false sense of security. Ang bilis
Correct.
na ubos kasi bawat cotton bud may bayad.
Correct.
Right? And that is the difference. Parang a lot of people without HMO, they would really go to a semi-private or a public hospital, which really, panganak ka na, at magkano lang eh. Pero pag private talaga, kahit na minimum surgery, abot ka talaga ng 60,000 at least. Plus, plus,
Mm.
plus, 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 plus. Kasi the doctor, if you get into a private hospital, no sane
Ibang
doctor will
charge.
charge you low. Oo. Kaya sabi ko nga, bakit
Mm.
ako pag pumunta ako sa private hospital, ang mahal lahat ng charges, pero pag public, parang mababa lang. Because really, you
Mm.
have to tax the rich. You have to
Ano
tax
pa yan ha?
the
Let's
people, di
say,
ba?
let's
You
say
want,
sa
oo.
let's say sa hospital, iba pa ang charge nung doctor. Same doctor ha. Pag nasa private
Yes.
room ka, iba ang charges pag nasa semi-private ka. Mas mababa pag sa
Yes.
semi-private, mas mababa pa pag nasa ward. So, may mga ganong ano yan. May mga ganong structure sila
Hindi
dyan.
counted yun, 'di ba? Yung mga PF sometimes sa mga Maxicare that you have to add on to that eh. Kasi some doctors, they don't want to put their PF into the ano, kasi yung VAT taxes nga nasasama sila. So hiwalay na pera
May
yata
mga
yun.
doctors na
Hindi
hindi nila.
counted yun eh, right? Not counted sa HMO
Depende.
yung mga PF ng doctors.
Depende.
Okay.
Depende. Kasi kung yung doctor mismo ay accredited, then i-cover yon nung HMO. But if the doctor is not accredited, kahit pa accredited yung hospital, hindi i-charge yun doon. Hindi siya i-cover ng HMO.
So maraming limitations din talaga ang HMO na medyo naiipit din si company, si employee
Yes.
later on pag
Employee. Oo.
mag-trigger. Paano
Mm-mm.
yun? How do
Kaya
they
yung
raise
mga
money, 'di ba?
HR dapat yung mga HR familiar kayo doon sa HMO coverage ninyo kasi minsan hindi niyo napapansin, meron palang mga exclusions yan na pag ginamit for example yung ganito hindi affiliated si doctor, hindi yan i-cover ng HMO nyo. Hindi
In
automatic
your
na covered si hospital ng HMO, charge na rin kagad, hindi.
in your experience, Rona, ano nangyayari pag masyadong malaki yung hospital bill beyond the HMO? Kasi nga, because they choose a more private hospital and they choose a specialist thinking that it will be covered. Syempre, parang where are they gonna get the money? It's like millions. It really, lumulobo
Actually,
talaga.
mag-aano sila,
How can they
magpa-promissory
seek
note,
help sa
but it's
company,
your
di ba?
hospital. Ipit si company actually. Kasi syempre, let's say, nagkasakit ka, hindi kinover ng HMO mo, at hindi naintindihan ni employee kung ba't hindi na-cover siya, ang una nilang tatakbuhan
Right,
is si employer. So si employer ngayon,
right.
dahil kukulitin siya ng company, at let's say si hospital ay mahigpit, hindi makalabas dahil meron pang hindi nasisettle na amount.
Correct,
Napipilitan
correct.
ngayon si employer na sila yung magpapaluwal, magiging cash advance siya ni employee. Paano ko yung employer,
Ah,
maliit na
hindi
company? So, doon
napapasok.
nagkakaroon, no?
Si employee hindi na rin papasok, 'di ba? Kasi may
Kasi hindi na
may
rin
promissory.
papasok.
Oo. Which is really what we can
Patay
see in the
na.
Philippine HR group eh, hindi ba? Ang daming cases na
Mm-hmm.
gano'n. Before, lalo na during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Correct.
There is a comment saying here, tama naman din, but for companies who still want HMO, they offer Get Well. Get Well has been servicing Filipinos for nearly 20 years. O, diba? Naglano pa. Kaya dapat
Oo.
manood kayo ng HR Cafe para mga comment na ganyan,
Correct.
free
Yun yung
plug-in.
sinasabi natin, yung mga small at not well-known na mga companies like Getwell, for example, they've been in the business for 20 years, but they are not really someone na sobrang kilala. Probably because hindi ganun katindi yung marketing nila, for example. So, alam mo yun, hindi alam ng mga HR na merong ganoon na pwede nila i-take advantage na mas mura. Everyone kasi would want to go after MaxiCare, Medicard, IntelliCare. Malalaking companies na to, kilala na yan, so medyo mahal na talaga silang mag-charge.
For the similar type of benefit, right? Copy paste.
Correct. Isa pa pala naisip ko, get a broker. Get a broker, promise. A broker will always facilitate and negotiate on your behalf. Yung mga rates, lalo na kung magaling yung broker na makukuha nyo, kaya nilang kaya nilang ipa-reduce yung cost depending on your utilization, on kung sino yung coverage, ano yung amount ng coverage, kaya nilang mag-negotiate on your behalf. So get a broker para mas mas cost efficient yung makukuha nila.
Last question, Rona, before we end the show. Balikan natin si Sir Edwin Alulod kanina, or should they just wait for them to have a salary increase, which is greater than the de minimis benefit before implementing the non-taxable allowance to their salary package? Kasi yun nga, naipit nga siya kanina. Doon sa nabigay niyang de minimis before pre-pandemic, during the pandemic.
Okay. Wait for the salary increase which is greater than the de minimis benefits. Well, again, it will depend sa kung ano yung kaya nyo. Kasi when it comes to de minimis and when it comes to non-taxable, yan ay magiging management prerogative. So whatever it is that you think is more logical sa situation ninyo, you can go ahead with that. Be careful lang with non-taxable allowance. Kasi hindi lahat ng tinatawag nating non-taxable ay talagang non-taxable. So for example, your transportation allowance and your communication allowance, a lot of companies call that non-taxable, but it's actually taxable when it goes beyond 90,000. So may mga ganun kayong kailangan i-consider. Careful with the use of the word non-taxable kasi baka mali na yung gamit ninyo. But yung sa situation mo, kung naiipit ka na, hindi mo, ang suggestion ko kung ipit ka na, huwag ka munang mag-implement ng kahit na ano, wait for the salary increase. Wala namang batas na nagre-require sa'yo na magkaroon ka kagad ng all of this ng isang bagsakan. So, kalma muna doon sa magiging cost bago kayo mag-implement ng kahit anong pamang non-taxable allowance. Okay? Again,
sa akin kasi,
go back sa ano ba yung goal mo, ano objective mo.
Yeah, a lot of HRs kasi, we don't want to get too much into details, lalo na pagdating sa de minimis, non-taxable allowance. I have to admit kasi I'm not Rona. But minsan kasi, when an employee asks us this type of question, anong sagot natin? As finance, as accounting. We always push the question to finance and accounting. And sa akin, it means kasi that we don't really know the answer and we don't really understand why we're giving them the type of compensation that we're giving them and how much they're really worth. Which might be, we have to come back to ourselves. Now, we need to really study why we pay the people the amount of money that we pay. Kasi if you don't understand that, it's so hard to explain when somebody asks you for favors. Kasi because you don't know too much about how they're compensated and why they're compensated and why the company is giving them such type of money and how indispensable they are, there might be a risk na either A, bigay ka lang ng bigay, o sige, fine, go. Which might invite more people to ask for more. 'Di ba? Ay, hindi kasi oo, pag nagtanong, mag-oo naman eh. Para wala nang gulo, 'di ba? Para lahat ng tao masaya, lahat ng sagot oo. Dadami ang problema mo kasi lahat ng tao magtatanong sa'yo. Kasi ikaw yung oo. Right?
Correct.
So you kind of need to know and say no. And you have to be careful to who you're saying no to. Make sure that the person you're saying no, kung ayaw na niya, ready ka mag-resign siya. Because if that person resign, okay lang, she can't accept the type of compensation we can give, ayaw natin ilubog yung company, say no. If the person's really indispensable, meaning to say, pag nawala yung tao na yun, malulubog ang company, you might want to consider and giving him an exception to the rule. But at least you can explain. 'Di ba? Yung kung may tao, bakit siya may increase, ako wala? O di gawin mo trabaho niya, 'di ba? Kung magawa mo trabaho niya, ikaw bibigay kita ng increase. O, ma'am, ganoon, 'di ba? Nagbabakasakali lang eh.
Correct. And HR and employers need to understand that salary increase is not required by law. So,
Hirap
hindi
kasi
kailangan.
tumanggi, Rona. Hirap
Correct.
tumanggi.
Let me qualify my answer. Mahirap tumanggi pag nasimulan mo ng umuo ng umuo. Mahirap
Hala,
tumanggi. But if
parang
right from the
relationship lang ba
start,
yan? Parang relationship or pangungutang lang yan, di ba?
di ba? Pag nasimulan mo na kasi, ang hirap ng tumanggi. Kasi ikaw na yung magiging masama. But if right from the start, you are clear on when you're going to give something and when you're going to withhold something, hindi ganun kahirap tumanggi. Especially if you have written policies and procedures in place. So, kasi
Mm.
pag may policy at may procedure ka at na-explain mong maigi sa mga employees and you know why you have these policies and procedures in place, madali mo na siyang mai-explain. Madali ka nang makakapag-no kasi alam mo yun na yung no mo is coming from something logical, something
May
solid, something na po
basis.
pwedeng ilapat. May basis ka. Kaya naman tayo minsan
Mm.
nahihirapan magsabi ng no pag ba't ako walang increase, bakit siya meron? Kaya tayo nahihirapan kasi hindi natin alam i-explain kasi the initial decision that we made was not backed up by something solid. Arbitrary siya
Mm.
or it was driven by
Mm.
emotions. So ngayon na naku-question tayo, hindi natin siya ma-defend.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
oo tayo ng oo. So, yun yung sinasabi ko, pag nasimulan mo na ng oo na hindi ganun ka-solid, ang hirap ng tumanggi.
Alam mo, Rona, dapat mag-guest ka every so often. Kasi talaga maraming akong natutunan sa'yo. As in, when you say certain things, napapaisip ako na mas malalim. Ang dami kong iniisip. 'Di ba? Hindi lang yung parang when you say, oo nga, no, tama, tama. Hindi ganun eh. Parang, oh, teka, ginagawa ko ba yan? Kung hindi ko ginagawa yan, maybe I should like revise. How can I revise? Umaabot ng malayo. I'm very glad that
O,
you're
di ba?
here to talk about total rewards. Kasi even the most experienced HR, if you really listen to what Ma'am Rona is saying, there is much deeper meaning to what she's saying. So we're almost at the end of our show. Rona, last words pa. And I hope that talaga next time you guest again kasi napakadaming natutunan sa'yo. And I'm not just saying it just
Ayan.
because you're my friend.
Ayan. Maraming salamat do sa mga nagstay hanggang mag-aalas 6 na hanggang ngayon. And I do hope that you were able to pick up something
Ang
from what I
dami,
just
oh.
mentioned. Again, ang sasabihin lang natin do sa mga HR natin is that when you're trying to implement something, make sure that you're not doing it and you're not coming from something driven by your ego. It should be something that is driven by a need of the organization. It's very easy for us in HR, especially when we are starting in a new company. It's very easy for us to say na, I need to make these changes, I need to implement this. This is a good idea kasi ito yung nakita ko, nabasa ko, etc. When you implement something and when you think about something, always keep your ego in check. Is this something that is for the benefit of the company or am I just doing this para ano ko, kilala ko, ano ko, pwede ko pakita na effective ako. Don't do that. Always come from a place of wanting to really improve, sustain the organization, and always ideas that they can share with you. Yun na yung last words ko. And of course, I'd like to invite everyone for employer branding for talent acquisition webinar happening this Saturday. If you haven't secured your slot yet, go to uprush-sg.com, and that is where you would see all of our events lined up for the year. Mentor Tina?
Hmm. Okay. Sa akin, my managers would sometimes ask me, sabi nila, "Ma'am, dagdagan natin ng sahod ng empleyado natin para lalo silang magtrabaho ng mas mabuti at mas masipag." And sometimes it's very tempting for me just to say yes. If you have the extra fund now, why not give the person more money as a reward? But sometimes kasi it's very hard to say yes because if you say yes, it's not just a change, a one-time payment. When you increase a person's salary or benefits, it's a payment that you usually give for 12 months plus if base pay yan ha, may 13th month pay pa. Dadagdag din yung SSS employer share mo and taxes if ever. There's a lot of things that go beyond just increasing, let's assume 1,000 pesos lang. 1,000 might be small, but it's still 13,000 base parang for the entire year. And if you multiply that for 100 people, kasi obviously you can't just increase one person because everybody else will complain, then it's really a big amount of expense for the company. So the manager who's making a decision has to ask, can I sustain that much increase? Because there is no parang guarantee that if you increase the pay by 1,000 or 10,000, it doesn't necessarily guarantee it will also increase the productivity by 10,000. It's not always the case. And in fact, in the Philippines, whenever I increase the salary, mas dumadami yung luho ng tao. Dumadami yung chicks, dumadami yung home credit ng cellphones, dumadami yung new TVs, yung pakspasang nyupsal. Because when you increase that, it gives people a false sense of parang feeling na, uy, mas marami akong pera. So they spend more. And then they're still in the same parang problem as they did before. Originally, you want to help them with inflation and cost of living, but many people use that money elsewhere. I'm not telling people not to increase. I'm just saying that increasing benefits and wages has to be strategic, long term, very much thought about, diba? And you need to peg it at least with conditions and with some sort of return on performance. Because if you keep on saying yes all the time, you might be the person who will sink the ship. Because every time employees are now thinking about wages instead of work, which might be counterintuitive to the longevity of the company. Yeah, for me, I always lang ha, and I don't know if I would recommend it to everyone, pero for me, I love pegging increases with actual performance, either by performance bonuses or incentives based on sales or anything. Hindi, I never give additions for free. It's always after a performance is done, never before. Kasi a lot of companies, they'll say, I'll give you more money, but you have to do more for me. Ako, it's the opposite. You do more for me, then I'll give you more money because you deserve it. When you do certain things, it might sound very conservative. But if you're managing a firm, you need to be conservative because you need to make sure the firm outlasts the employees inside it. Hindi puwedeng bumagsak ang company kasi masyado kayong expenses. Puwedeng umalis yung mga tao, people will come and go. If they don't like what you pay them, they might go, but new people will also come in who might be happy with what you're offering. But if you keep on saying yes and sinking your ship, then even if you feel that you're a nice boss, you're actually the worst boss in the company because you're the one responsible of making everybody lose their jobs because it's too much money for the company to handle. And you might be inviting the wrong type of people, wrong type of employees who just wants the money but are not actually working because they really believe in the company. So for me, total rewards, too much for just an hour or 2 hours. Because nagulat nga ako, ready na ako sa math, ready na ako sa calculator. Expect ko yung payroll, di ba? I mean, I'm sorry, I really expected this talk to be all about salary and like the minimis, yung mga taxes, di ba? Wala masyado eh. Pero what Ma'am Rhoda, Coach Rona is telling us is even more valuable than the calculator because the calculator is very short term. And what Ma'am Rona is telling us is you have to think long term because you're fighting for the future of the company. 'Di ba? Tama yun, Ma'am Rona, 'di ba? And with that,
Yes, that's
thank you so
correct.
much
Correct
for
po.
staying with us up until this very end. And we wish you happy Sunday, and we welcome you again next week for another HR webinar sa HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa. Palakpakan si Coach Rona for such a great, insightful webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy
Bye,
Sunday.
everyone.